Prof, if I said you could replace XANTARES with any other Turkish player, would you do it?
I would seriously think about it, because that's the role that's the only role where they have like multiple good players.
Yeah, 12 kills over 2 maps.
Yeah,
he is really not delivering.
Kind of my question mark is along the lines of, should Aurora just be happy with where they are?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, brought to you in conjunction with one of our lovely partners that is going to be Stake. Remember to gamble responsibly. I want to get into this quick, fast, thick, and hot tonight, everybody. That's not, it's not Friday yet, but it is a night where we're going to be talking about Counter-Strike. This is going to be a good one. So we got Prof, we got Striker, we got Lucas here as well. We're all slightly in the dark a little bit, and that's okay, because it is nighttime. So we're just trying to, show that it is nighttime when we're recording this. As I said, boys, I don't want to fuck around. I want to get straight into it. So, Prof, can you do the top comment for us out the gate, sir? For those who don't know, top comment, YouTube channel, week to week, right? The VOD goes up. If you put a comment on there and it gets voted as the top comment, you can win yourself a Vitality jersey thanks to Stake. The email will come up on screen. Your name will be there. You send an email if you're the winner. We'll get you a jersey. What color is it? Who knows? But they have a lot of them. People love Vitality because they keep winning. Right, guys? Yeah. All right, Prof.
I have actually a surprise. Not all comments are from YouTube this time around. Okay. First comment is from Bradley from Spotify.
Nice.
I noticed this and I was like, I'm going to put this one in. It also has 4 reactions, which is quite a bit for Spotify. There's usually 1 or 2, 3 comments, maybe 1 or 2 likes or something. This one had 4. Bradley 6 days ago says, I shall never recover from the emotional damage of realizing that FaZe this year is genuinely comparable to EG. Wow. And I think this is a bit too much. I think this is he's drawing he crossed the line here. This is too much.
It is a bit grim.
But it's a good joke, and it's on Spotify, so I wanted to give some love to people there. Obviously they're not going to be winning any prizes, but it's we read that too. That's it.
And I was thinking about 15 players from being EG, so very far off.
Yes, that is.
You never know what's in store with what's changing over there now. Anything's possible.
FaZe Academy. Jan Mazur 3111 says, this is a reference to your casting. Subpar from the bizarre. That's
pretty good.
I'll take.
Pretty good.
Not bad. Mikkel Pusep 6274. Also, I googled why everyone has numbers, but that's in their names, like 4 numbers. It's a very YouTube thing. Recently, when they did some changes. So this guy said, cast, or like analysts or pundits even. This is Spirits and MOUZ's tournament to lose. Spirit and MOUZ, gentleman agreement to both lose. I feel like the delivery wasn't really there on this one. Great concept.
I get it. It is playing with the audience. It's playing with the audience. Yep. This
would have been Hold My Beer. Hold My Beer would have been the classic usage of the Hold My Beer. Really meme. But yeah, they did fuck that up. Moving on to the next page, quite a few this time. Vigo Elenius says Newton's, but written like Newton's third law. For every it's so over, there's an equal, and the opposite, we are so back. This is obviously talking about FaZe. Unfortunately, until one time when there's no we are back.
So back.
There's no more back for Neo. He's out of the team in the meantime. So that's going to be something we talk about later. Benjo7310. This is a banger. I think Sponge should be the one to win the Vitality jersey, so we can finally give the Counter-Strike T-shirt a wash. How do you feel about this? People have pointed out you're wearing this shirt. You wore it like 3 times, but all of these 3 times in like public. So people now think this is the only shirt you have.
And that's okay. You know, I think of me like a Homer Simpson or Bart Simpson type character. You know, I have one outfit. When
Yes.
the Simpsons come on, you know what to expect, right? So that's fine.
I was thinking about the same. Maybe we should all just have like a single outfit. That would be, maybe then people wouldn't confuse me and Striker at events. that could be great. That would be great.
Do you think if we turned up with actual nicknames on our shirts, it would never happen again?
Yeah. Maybe on the back, just like a jersey, you know?
Do those
And a
stickers.
small
Hi
gear.
guys.
No, we
My
should do
name.
it. We should do it like properly,
Yes.
like across the chest. So like whenever somebody sees us, they're gonna be like, there's gonna be like that moment where they're like stuck because they're like, oh, I thought this was the other
Mildly
guy.
Wait,
stumbled.
is this a joke?
Is this a joke?
This is
Yes.
probably the other guy. They're trolling.
And they're gonna come up to you and be like, hey.
Deepizuka, this is the guy that I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is the guy that you referenced last time, Australian lad. He says, thank you, Chad. One thing he mentions, curious to know if anyone has heard anything about the impact of logistics on event organizers. Flying equipment, driving it costs a fortune, also flying out players and stuff with the current situation in the world and gas prices going up a lot, potentially flight prices going up a lot. How is this going to impact everything in the TO space, right? That's nothing that we really can answer or maybe need to, but it is something interesting to think about in terms of that's going to be a big price hit on TOs for sure.
There's lots of factors, I'd imagine, on like that we have no idea where things are going to go, right? So it's hard to be able to speculate about certain things. But I would say for something like EWC that is meant to be slated to be happening in 5 months from now, right? Is that
not even
right? Yeah, well,
July, August, right?
Yeah, well, for Counter-Strike, right? I guess.
Yeah,
so you're right. It will be on before Counter-Strike. Yeah, so it's something that's on in that near of a vicinity. You never know what could change over there, right? Or how they're going to respond to things. So that one would probably be the one that would be impacted the most severely and the one that we'll probably know about the soonest. Because you think about it, where are some of the other countries that people are going? ESL going to Rio. That's fine.
Yeah, a lot of there's some China stuff.
Oh, but I guess just general flight costs and stuff
Astana,
going up. Something. I haven't looked at that. Yeah, I don't know. It's obviously not good. Things cost more. Money
Not
hard
good.
to come by.
Not good. Not a
Money,
good thing.
money make world go round. So yeah.
And there's a second part of the comment which says, if you ever want to feel better about the state of CS esports compared to anything else, go parse the Lex Freedom podcast with Jeff Kaplan, Overwatch game director. I'll just leave it at that. It was had some good quotes. I think people saw them around on Twitter, how essentially the Blizzard guys were just, we need to make X money, otherwise we will fire 1,000 people. Good luck. Which kind of puts the whole game in a very different, the whole development of the game very differently to what we have in Counter-Strike, which is maybe it's 5 people working, but they're just doing their thing, and the game doesn't change overnight between what it is and when we made CS2
anyway,
CS2 was actually a different game to some degree from CS:GO, unlike Overwatch. And that's pretty much it. Long comment. Kamante2971. This is the winner, actually. It's just glazing again.
Okay.
No, it says, I really like it was about EPL. I really like the more relaxed and jokey style of casting during the group stage. It really felt like watching with you guys while you're cracking jokes and making fun of the players or their form. It felt refreshing from the more serious style of other events. 219 upvotes for that one. Take that one to the bank, Chad. Take that one to the bosses.
They like that one? Yeah, we'll see what they say. You never know what's going to come out of any of these conversations, really. And just because people at home like it, sometimes that doesn't matter. You think that should matter, but sometimes it doesn't. But that's our top comment. What was the name?
Kamante2971.
Okay. Email up on screen. You know what to do. Send an email over there and we'll get you a Vitality jersey. Okay. So that is last week in the YouTube comments. But
yes.
Anyway, I like I said, I want to get straight into the thick of it, boys, because we got a lot to get into tonight. So we're going to kick off just right now, about to get into stuff to do with the reloading update. Then we're just going to touch on a couple of the recent news topics. We're going to have a lot of the conversations about things that happened in EPL in the Rotterdam conversation. So we'll kind of bleed those two into one another. Quick check-in if there's anything major with some of the smaller races or regions regarding the the roster lock, not the roster lock, the VRS cutoff date, right, for Cologne. And yeah, just jump into everything. So let's get straight into the ammo update. Let me just write it here. Oh, we're hitting the wrong keys. Reload update. And I'm going to read the patch notes now. And then I just want initial impressions, guys. I don't want to get into it. I'll read the patch notes so everyone's on the same page. Initial impressions, nothing more than 2 sentences. Okay. Then we're going to do Skinionaire, and then we'll talk about impact and speculation and all those things. Okay. So last night, blog post, guns, guides, and games. They like the G's. From reloading to custom games, today's update will give you plenty to think about. Reload. When you reload in CS2, the leftover ammo in your magazine is dumped back into an essentially endless reserve supply. And so the decision to reload has never offered significant trade-offs in a safe position with enough time. You might reload after firing a single bullet or half a mag, or after firing down to empty, and the rest of the round would be unaffected. We think that the decision to reload should have higher stakes, so in today's update, reloading has been redesigned. Now, when you reload, you'll drop the used magazine and discard all of its remaining ammo. Instead of topping off your weapon with a few bullets, a new full magazine will be taken from the reserves whenever you reload. How many reserve mags will each weapon have? Most have gotten 3 clips full, but some weapons will have less to reward efficiency and precision, and more to encourage spamming through walls and smokes. Keep an eye on your reserve supply. Okay, so I won't bother reading the other parts, but one is to do with map guides, where you can go in the comp mode and you'll be able to, for the first 5 rounds, have grenade guides, which is a good on-ramp for newer players. It's not in the Premier and it won't be in FACEIT. And then the other part is to do with joining your friends in custom game modes, that's nice. That's a little one. Okay, Striker, initial thoughts on this update last night. Short and sweet. Don't get stuck into it.
Thoughts of the reaction, or initial thoughts on the actual update?
Your initial thoughts in general.
Original.
Just nice and short, succinct.
Man, I have too much to think than to just make it short.
That's a Joe Biden line. That's
a good initial reaction. If that's it, we know what he means.
Okay, let's leave it.
Okay, Prof.
Initially shocking, subsequently understandable and smart. There you
guys, how are these going to be the zingers for social media, where Striker's like outrage, outrage and upset? You know, we can't. Okay, never mind. We're gonna right now. What we're gonna do is.
What about yours, Chad? You have to give yours now too.
No, I'm the host. I can do whatever I want. We're going to do Skinionaire right now. So this is an early Skinionaire. So if you're in early, you're here at the right time. I want you to put the code word in kick chat right now. We're going to be running Skinionaire. And essentially, this one is about updates that have happened to Counter-Strike in the past, right? Some that are, economy-based, or some that are impacting the way that the game is being balanced, essentially. Okay.
The intro is like horrible quality, so you're going to have to read out properly, or maybe you just send the link.
I see everything.
Okay. I can read it out. It's all good. So people are writing the code word in chat right now. Keep them flowing. That's your raffle ticket. If Prof and Striker get all 5 questions correct, we'll be giving away a $50 skin. Nothing crazy this week. Just 5 questions, multiple choice, all 5 correct, $50 skin. All right, let's get into it. Question number 1. Tech9's original ammo count was 18 in the mag and 90 reserve, 24 in the mag and 120 reserve, 32 in the mag, 120 reserve.
I'm pretty sure it's 32, even though when you read the number, it's fucking insane. I feel like it was 30. Am I crazy?
I don't think, has it changed?
Yeah, it's like 18 now.
Yeah, then I'll go with you. I have no idea.
Let's go with 30. Let's go with 32.
Locking in 32 out of 120 reserve. Correct answer is 32 and 120 reserve.
That's actually insane. That's actually insane.
All right.
Like I know it, but when I read it, I can't.
What does it have now, Sponge?
Right now, I'm in a server. Hold up, I can check this.
I think 18.
It is 18 now, but reserve, it's probably what, four mags. I don't know. Didn't really look at Tech9 to be honest.
3 or 4 mags. Let
me have a look. I'm in the server right now. It has 3. So 18 times 4 is the total amount of ammo of a Tech9. So it's come on down. Okay. Question number 2. We're on for 1 so far. The Krieg and Org were buffed in late 2018 by changing what mechanic? The price, movement speed, time to kill.
This was the how do you change the time to kill?
It was price. It was price. None of the stats changed. The people just, it was the price.
Well, you happy with that?
Yeah.
You see the confidence there from Striker?
100%. I agree with this.
All right, locking in the price. I guess time to kill would be the firing rate, right?
Like DPS or whatever.
I mean,
like time to kill could be anything.
Damage,
could be a lot of different things. Yeah.
But you can't really change it directly as a number, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah.
I did just check. So yeah, that one kind of wild, right? Late 2018, all they did was bring the price points down by $150 on
But
both the Org and the Krieg.
Like a half a year for people to get up to speed.
The most fucked up part is that, not most fucked up, but I just always remember playing with a mate in like 2014, and dude used to buy like Krieg and dual Berettas, and I would flame the shit out of him because like, what are you trying to do? Like, why are you buying these silly guns? These 2 guns did not change. They became like overpowered in the game. So he was ahead of the meta, actually.
Some people are, some people are like, no, it's with the MP7.
He was also playing with motion blur on. So, make of that what you want.
Okay. All right, 2 from 2, going well so far. Remember, guys, keep typing Skinionaire. Skinionaire is what we're doing. Keep typing the code word if you haven't, or keep typing it if you have. We like the interactions. The interactions are great. They go really good on a spreadsheet when you sell it to a sales.
I don't think we use these interactions.
You need to get it going. Get them tallied up. Get them tallied up. All right, question number 3.
Ready to feel old?
Yes. Dropping nades was introduced in what year? 2019, 2021, or 2023?
3.
Well, are you sure?
Wait, dropping nades?
Dropping nades.
You went very. Why are you so sure? Not 2019 for sure. That
23. 23, bro.
I feel like we had this discussion recently, and you were wrong.
No, I thought it was a CS2 thing, but it's not a CS2 thing. But it was still in 23.
23 is.
It was like early 23, and then CS2 came after or whatever. I don't know. But 23, 21 is too early. There's no way fucking PGL Stockholm was with dropping nades. It was not. 23.
Respectfully, let's go with yours.
But again, 2023. Correct answer is 2021.
What?
There we go. There we go. Respectfully. I'm changing the respectfully to regards.
You're so confident with your answer. I have to go back and get my source material so that I can. So this happened on September 21, 2021.
We had dropping nades in Stockholm.
Yeah,
that seems crazy to me.
So let me see if I can find the patch notes. 1 second. I had it all in a
Alexi B got the nade damage record right after that change, and he was an OG. On Dust 2 against Spitty.
Sprout.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was fucking that long ago still.
You're so confident. You're so confident. Bro didn't even want to hear about it. He didn't want to hear about it.
No. It's insane to me that it's 5 years ago, bro.
And Lucas even said, anyway.
That's fine. It's only the people at home who won't get what they want, I guess.
22nd September 2021.
Okay. So I'm not crazy.
Yep.
Okay. I was double checking to make sure that I was correct because I did do my homework. Okay. So we got 2 out of 3 correct. We can still get 4 out of 5. It's still open. But isn't that crazy how long ago that was? That was the point of that question. There we go. All right, question number 4. Which one of these economy mechanics was changed first? $50 per kill on the CT side, second round loss bonus, hard resets removed, or M4A1 reduced to 2,900.
Ooh. So can you read the options again because I can't read it?
$50 per CT kill was that's the most recent one, right? So that's not what we're going for.
Okay, I thought it was. Yeah, that's not the one. Yeah.
Second round loss bonus added, hard reset removed, so the 5 levels.
Like the slider thing. Yeah.
and then M4A1 reduced to 2,900. But I feel like wasn't M4A1 reduced to 2,900 in like 2014 or something?
Well, that was when it came out, so I don't know.
Well, no.
That,
At first it came out and then it was OP, right?
Yeah.
So then they nerfed it and then they lowered the price.
I would say Sec B, but I'm not sure. B
Second round loss bonus. So starting from 1.9.
The slider came second, not the. So I think the slider came later than the 1900 bonus.
Is that the answer?
I think the slider came.
Yeah, that came after. I'm pretty sure that came after. But I'm not sure about the M4A1. I can't really place that where that goes in the whole thing. Let's go for second round.
The thing was quite. It was quite old. It is quite old.
Let's go with the second round loss bonus.
Locking in second round loss bonus. Correct answer is second round loss bonus. Yes, it went second round loss bonus. Then they brought in like the seesaw, right? The slider you're talking about. Then it was the M4, and then obviously the $50 CT kill reward.
Not bad.
So yeah. Final question to salvage 4 out of 5 here on Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. Question number 5 is: how many shots in total did the orb have pre last night's update? Was it 30, 35, or 40? How many shots in total did the orb have pre-update?
In total, so in the gun and then all of the reload together.
It was 530, no? I'm pretty sure.
I think or 525. These are
That's
the two
what
options.
Like I can't remember if it was 30 total or 30 in the. I think it was 30 extra.
Why does it matter? No one's gonna use them. It doesn't. What are these skills gonna use? When I'm gonna use these skills in real life?
530. I think just 525 is a random number.
So what am I locking in? 30,
Striker,
35, or 40?
Striker, do a redemption time.
All right, 35.
Locking in 35. Correct answer is 35.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So that is the end of Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire for this week's edition of HLTV Confirmed. Lucas will draw a winner, and we will give that away to one of our lovely kick users. But I guess as he's doing that, gentlemen, that's just a trip down memory lane of some of the updates across the years that sparked great controversy.
It's been 5 years, bro.
Isn't it insane?
It's impossible.
Jerwin.
It feels so fucking recent. Like
we've got our
really
winner. 1 second. Jerwin, our people will reach out to your people, and we'll go from there. Anyway, Striker, back over to you.
No, I'm just whatever. I'm just shocked.
Yeah, bro.
Still.
Also, like we started doing Confirmed in 2018, so that's gonna be 10 years. And in 2 years, that's gonna be 10 years. So think of also that what you want.
No, I get that. It's just it feels like grenade dropping and CS2 are pretty close to each other in my head for some reason, and I don't know why.
Well, they are close to each other.
Not that close to each other. If it's 2 years apart.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking like 6 months or a year or something.
No, I thought it was the same. I legit thought it was the same year.
Well, I remember we did talk about it on an episode not that long ago. So
I think I was just as confused then, to be honest.
It is kind of baffling. But let's get into talking about the last night's update with the reloading. Hold up, where's my phone? I did make some notes. I made some notes. I wanted to make sure that I had some notes. These notes are nothing crazy. Like I haven't sat fucking profoundly on a rock and thought about life or anything. But I did write, anyone mentioning realism, you can discredit their opinion immediately. And then I followed that up with, anyone acting like Valve have never made a bad choice, also discredit their opinion. So that's kind of where I started. That was my starting point for my notes right there. And then I started thinking about the patch notes, because this is Valve are actually communicating to you, the end user, more clearly than ever before in this blog post. It's kind of ridiculous, right? They're conveying to the end user that they want there to be more thought put into the decision of reloading, and how does that impact any given moment or outcome. And it's also another balancing technique for them with weapons, right? You can see at the end there, it says some weapons will have less to reward efficiency and precision, or more to encourage spamming through walls and smokes. Keep an eye on your reserve supply. So those two things I take from the patch notes immediately. One, it's to give you to put more thought behind when and how you're reloading, and the other is to help them balance weapons, right? And that wasn't a mechanic that they were able to play with in the same way before, obviously in a similar way, because we spoke about the Tech 9 situation, or for example the CZ, all of those bits and bobs, and then so to go contrasting, we'll come to that in a minute, I guess, but either way, I think about this, and it just gets me thinking of the boomer days. Do you guys think about the boomer days when you see this ammo situation?
No.
Yeah, a little bit. When you could buy ammo, you mean?
Yeah, so a lot of people probably aren't from that time, which is fine. But when we would play officials with like in 1.6, you had to buy ammo, and that's people will go like, oh, that's not a crazy revelation. But it's people would just assume that you would buy max ammo every round for every gun, and you wouldn't do that. Like you would buy an AWP, and if you didn't have enough money, if you only had enough money to glass can an AWP, you wouldn't have any money to buy anything else. So you would just buy AWP and no reserve bullets. Or the Deagle, if you're in a deco round, you're not buying 7 with 35 reserve bullets on the deco round. Maybe you're buying 2 extra mags. So you have maybe 21 bullets in total on a deco round to save more money as you were going forward in the game. So back in the day, there was more thought in, like when it was a full rifle round and money was flowing, yeah, you're buying all the ammo for your M4 and your AK, right? Because you're wall banging the fuck out of shit. That's a different dynamic that doesn't really exist to the same degree now. But yeah, you wanted my initial reaction, Striker. I don't feel strongly either way at the moment.
Okay.
I want to see it in play. I don't think it's going to impact anything too crazy. But then as you start to narrow that down, you can start to play with ideas of what it will impact, right? Areas where you can see it coming in. Okay, like an AWPer is going to be pressured. Then they have 15 shots total, or the Scout's being brought down. The CZ has an extra 12 bullets. Okay, so now maybe that becomes more viable. Those like weapon choice or pressure of the overall bullets. But then you have other areas like anchors spamming smokes to try and get sound cues on players if they're like in the smoke ready to go for a pop, right? You get players on back platform B. They'll be like tapping bullets to the A4 1S through the smoke, right? So there's a lot of things. The mind kind of races, but I don't think it's game breaking.
Can I just latch on to like the first thing you said when you were talking about your notes? That Valve, like people who think that Valve never made a bad choice. When's the last time you saw Valve backtrack on an update, like completely?
Backtrack on an update completely?
Like when have we seen Valve like completely turn around from an idea?
Dynamic weapon pricing in about 2006, I think.
Okay.
No, I mean there's the spray update, there's the R8, there's some that they
R8 got nerfed, just like obviously the R8 never left, and like a lot of these weapons obviously got overbuffed like for a moment, but then like they immediately saw the result.
It was very powerful though. It was like
it's kind of dead,
ridiculously powerful.
It never returned really after that one day and how it was. There was that one spray update also in like 2015 or whatever that they were like we fixed spraying, and everyone's like, this is the worst thing ever. They're like, okay, never mind guys. But generally speaking, they haven't really backtracked, but they have like adjusted, and then generally they make rather smaller adjustments than bigger ones that they need to backtrack from. So I think this is also in that direction where it's so small, it might as well, you can play the whole game without even noticing a difference, theoretically, right? As a casual player, at least on the top level, especially for some positions, you'll notice it right away.
Guns particularly, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is the less bullets a gun has in one magazine, the more this is going to be felt, because there's a less of a buffer, right, on that you usually want to reload. So I don't know. I just played one like casual game, not casual, competitive, but not Premier, just to like feel it out. And there was Anubis, and I went to B as CT. I spammed a few bullets through the smoke, and I was just like, I went to reload. I was like, nah, I can't do this now. Now I need to like play with 17 bullets for like the foreseeable future, because I don't want to like be one mag down after like 5 seconds of the round, right? And then when I got used to that, there's literally nothing else that ever came up as like, oh, I'm out of bullets. Like it's kind of there's.
I mean, M4A1S, I think it was already somewhat of a struggle to keep your bullets light, especially if you're in positions like outside on nuke, or like some of these like heavy spammy positions that, you know, you had to be careful a bit, like not just to spam two mags into a smoke, just trying everything right. And this is going to make it worse because the silencer was one of those guns that got nerfed in terms of even overall number of bullets, right? Not just with the way that it works. So that's one position or like, you know, whoever's playing with those guns on sides and like up against a lot of smokes usually.
You touched on one point there, Lucas. I'm just sending you a tweet. If you can bring that up on the screen in a second.
We just did.
I did? Okay, I missed it. I was flicking off. You can leave it up there. That's fine. You touched on a point there to do with smoke spams, which is one of the main things I've seen in the discourse at the moment of, that's not Discord, that's discourse. That's the conversation that I've seen of people having around this change. And like spamming through smokes being, always an option because you don't have to be mindful of your ammo. At least you're able to take a few more liberties with it. Right now, this up on screen right now, this is from Thor's Twitter. He's gone and essentially detailed which weapons have received more ammo, which have less, and which ones are unchanged. So things like the AK is unchanged, right? So you're going to have your 30 that you start with, and then you have 3 mags to be able to reload with, giving you a total of 120 bullets. But that's assuming you use every bullet in every mag without reloading. The buffs have gone to things that have more ammo, which is probably more in sense with the mag size. That's something else to keep in mind, right? Like I think the Glil had a round number. Well, it will be a round number anyway, but it had a number that wouldn't have equated to 35 bullets.
It was 100, no, I think. Like 100 extra, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember.
Either way, I think just the mag size kind of more in line with the actual output that the gun has, right? I don't know the terminology, but whatever. So FAMAS has more, CZ has more, P250 has more, A4 has more, which I think when I go back to that balancing conversation is probably another thing to try and incentivize people to have the choice between the A4 or the A1S, or having both on, right? And then choosing based on the position you're playing, whatever.
It's curious because they kind of specifically mentioned incentivizing spamming walls and smokes, right? Which is like you can clearly see their thought process behind, okay, M4 A4 goes up, but M4 A1S goes down, because obviously if you are an A4 player, spamming smokes is a lot more dangerous than if you are an A1S player. So obviously, you want to give them a little bit more of a nudge to make sure that, like, if they are going to spam smoke, they're effectively going to be, unrestricted by the bullets. But if you're a silencer player, you obviously already have an advantage, so they don't want you to just like keep spamming smokes forever because you have the bullets to do so. So like you can very clearly see the thought process here.
Legitimately, I think it's mostly just a nerf for them for A1S, and to some degree,
it's an AWP nerf too in a way.
Yeah, but I think that's like a separate discussion, so I'd do that separately. And then MP9 also minus 60 bullets.
That's a good one. That's
so
it. Yeah.
That's so essentially 2 like CT rifles that I don't want to say were overpowered.
Now, I guess
MP9 has less.
Yeah, it's 60 less bullets
total. No.
Yeah. So essentially, in terms of like spamming smokes and being super fast, running left and right on the MP9, that's something that, and the fire rate is super high, right? So I think that was to address that in some ways. They also did some the MP7 buff recently, so obviously they want to incentivize people to use different stuff there, and also obviously M4A1S we spoke about, but I just looked up the stats, like land stats for this year. M4A1S is 20% of all kills, and the normal M4 is 4.5%. So like four times more used, pretty much is the A1S. So getting that closer to a 50-50, I don't know if this is going to change it, but I do think
it's definitely going to change.
As an anchor,
100%.
As an anchor, I definitely think some people will at least switch from a A1S to a A4, because it already was kind of tricky sometimes, but it's still generally you just need 2 kills. So, and you can get that with a A1S more consistently, I feel like, than with an A4 before, with the spamming and everything. And now I think it's just like slightly tweaked into that, where I think some people will swap for sure.
I think across the board, it's just not a lot of bullets to have in an M4 in general. To work with, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw even people outside of those positions swapping, not like heavily or anything. I think the A1S still has a lot of upside, right? But at least to bring it a bit closer together for sure.
I mean, just ultimately, I think there is not that many duels you take during a game, during a round. I mean. That in everyone's minds, it's like, oh, you only have like 3 reloads. It's like, but how many times will you be peeking someone in a round and surviving? Like, unless you're fucking donk, it's gonna happen. Like, you have like one half duel, you know, where it kind of jiggles, spam a few shots, but generally speaking, at some point in the round, it's just gonna be a duel, and you're gonna die or you're gonna win the round, and that's kind of it. So overall, I don't think it changes that much, but it's cool that it adds some, how to say, depth to thinking of how you're approaching some of these situations.
Yeah, I think there's like a few main areas that it kind of influences, right? Because the update as one thing is not just one thing, right? We spoke about the balancing side, then decision-making side actually in the game, right? Like weapon choice is one thing, but then also, you know, the way that you're operating around certain smokes and moments that you were just discussing there. There's also a part of it that people are used to something too, right? And this is where, because people usually when they get change with Counter-Strike updates are not very happy, which is the way it goes. We get a lot of knee-jerk reactions, and that's fine. We're a game that has a lot of history, and it's based on certain fundamental things. And this was one that was essentially been this way for at least the part of just topping up the mag, right? That just being your ammo would just replenish the mag. You never have to worry about running out of mags. You had to worry about running out of ammo, right? So that as a fundamental thing to be changed, understandably, people are going to be a little bit concerned with it because it's not really a concept that's been discussed or thought about or spoken about. So they see that, and immediately that seems like quite a confronting thing to change. And then that starts breeding the questions that get floating around of why change something that wasn't broken? But they, like I said, I think they do a good job of communicating in that blog post why they've tweaked this mechanism. You have to understand, well, you don't have to understand, that's your choice. But I think if people look at Counter-Strike and they see how limited Valve are on actually tweaking certain elements of the game because of the way the game is played, what they're essentially doing here is trying to add another layer of depth or thought. Now, whether or not it turns out to be a good or a bad thing, I want to withhold judgment until I see it played, right? Until I can go run around in pugs or play a Premier or a comp, or I can do any of that shit. But I want to, my focus is on what is being min-maxed at the highest level of play with the pro teams. That's where my focus is. So I would be reserving my full judgment until I see that. But my initial impact is, I think it will have influence in certain of those areas that we discussed, whether they're wearing different hats or, you know, whether it's going to be a bit more nuanced to the decision making in certain moments and the way that you deploy it, or maybe it'll be less than people expect. Maybe it's like Prof saying, and you're not going to notice it too much. There'll be certain ones where, you know, you're running to mid window on Mirage and you shoot the vent, and now you go to reload like you normally would and you lose fucking 12 bullets on your USP. It's like, oh, okay, well, I shouldn't have done that. Or when you're jumping through the B market window and you do the same thing, you shoot it instead of just slashing it with your knife. There's be scenarios where people are going to get caught out by that in the early stages. But again, I need more data of actually watching it unfold before I'm willing to make a judgment and you know, have a go at Valve for the change. But
I also just think that it just leaves so much room for improvements, because obviously you can just increase the number of extra mags on any gun that feels like they've overdone it, right? With the nerf or whatever it is. It is very easy to fix once they have data that tells them, okay, we've just gone too far in a direction. You know, they're not going to remove this entire mechanic all of a sudden just because, you know, whatever, some outrage at the beginning of the, you know, in the early reaction to the update. It's more going to be, okay, one gun feels off. Let's say the M4A1S suddenly just drops off the face of the earth because people just don't feel comfortable enough with just having whatever it is now, 60 bullets in the gun, you know, to work with for an entire round, right? Any other, you know, obviously USPs have been in the same place for the longest time, but maybe that could be another one, you know, that's historically already been kind of in the position of, it was on the edge of how many bullets you could actually use because you had 12/24. It's not a lot, you know. It's really not a lot of bullets. Like, there were situations where you would be down on your last mag, you know, and that's just going to happen a little bit more now. So I think there's enough room that I don't think this is ever going to be like they would ever backtrack on this mechanic completely, and that they would just adjust it little by little depending on how it works out.
I always just wonder like how they go about having these convos, Prof. I always think that they're sitting around like in the Seattle office with this perfect view of the river or lake or whatever the fuck it is, and everyone's just passing around a doobie, just like just throwing the craziest fucking ideas at the wall.
You
and
know
then,
those houses from like the 70s, or you know the cocaine den with like a with a conversation pit, all
yeah,
carpeted and then like dug in, and they're all just there and just like out of nowhere, people said, what if we replaced fucking bullets for magazines? And everyone's just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And he's like, well, wait. I really think I got it. And then he's like explaining everything, and they're like, fuck it, let's do this. Let's fucking do this.
It feels like from such left field. Normally when we go to the majors and you talk to the devs, you kind of get like an idea of what they're cooking or what they're thinking. They might ask a question and you're like, oh, okay, what's that about? But when I spoke to him last time, I got nothing regarding fucking reloading. They didn't go to me. So any strong thoughts on reloading? It's like, just to see this change, it's like, okay, it feels from left field. It's got the outrage. It continues to push home that old trope for everybody, right? Like people like, oh, we want content, we want the game to change, and then as soon as one little thing changes, everyone goes fucking nuts. So it is fun that we will literally be in that cycle forever. I hope what they do is when they see the craziest takes, like the absolute hobgoblins on the internet who reply to the tweet like, I'm coming to the office, I'm gonna kill all, like some guy is just going absolute ape shit over nothing. They should print them out and put it on the fridge there in the Valve office or whatnot. It'd be a nice little collection and collage for them. But
you want to talk about the op?
I want to ask one question. I think we can write this down. So A1S is currently 20% of all kills. How much will it be 3 months from now?
What are the odds? It's a bit long term.
Yeah, but like, let's say what will it be 3 months from now? Let's say post major, we start the next season, we go last 3 months, so we get like half of March.
I think 15%.
I was gonna go that, so I'll go 13%. Okay.
Yeah, I go 14. That's somewhere where I see it as well. So I don't think it's going to be like a massive change. Maybe even slightly less. Maybe in like, I'll say 16. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, it's in that range, right? Like give it's another 5% added to the A4 usage, bringing that up around 10, I think, But at the same time, well, we're not getting to see it right now in Bounty. They haven't done the change just yet.
Not Bounty, but okay.
Sorry.
Blast.
Open. It's Blast. Rotterdam. There you go. I'll use the city. We haven't
That's not in Rotterdam yet.
That's not in there yet. Okay, well, the opening portion of Blast open. But
Rotterdam.
I think that they might use it. Well, actually, I don't know.
They're not using it for the playoffs. That's what the news article came out. Yeah.
I didn't read it. I just assumed that they would just. But there's multiple days off between then and the playoffs.
What does it say? Blast open Rotterdam to stick to you.
For the whole event?
Not even the playoff stage scheduled for March 27 will be played on the new patch.
Wow.
There you go.
Why?
I mean, I guess if you think about it, teams are traveling. Maybe they don't have PCs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. But if they're playing Prax right now, they'd be playing Prax on the new patch, not the old patch.
Yeah.
They are getting to play it. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So we'll get to see it after that at Bucharest, PGL Bucharest. There we go. I got that one. Striker, Orp, what do you want to say?
No, I just found it funny. Because that was my first thought actually when I read this, and after I've seen some of the reaction, because I just saw the update come, everybody was going apeshit, and I was like, this is not that big of a deal. I mean, it's like, yes, it is significant, but it's not something worth fucking going to Seattle to burn them alive over. But
a reasonable
kind of
take.
the first,
A reasonable take.
Take. Yeah. But after I saw like people talk about most of the small kills, like my first thought went to the op, because it's already been nerfed by the reduction of 10 bullets to 5, obviously, which has been quite a while now. And in CS2, it's also not been the easiest to make the gun work. I mean, we can see kind of how the operas have been affected, and only a handful of them realistically being considered great operas nowadays. And this moving further in the direction of limiting the ops, possibilities didn't really sit well with me, just because it's already feeling like the gun is not in the best place. Obviously, people went back saying like, if 15 bullets aren't enough for you, then like you shouldn't even be playing or whatever like that. And I'm like, the point is, it's not 15 bullets now. There's a very good chance it's not 15 bullets now. Like I could come up with situations where you end up on 9 bullets for an entire round. And that's, you're getting to dangerous territory at that point, because, let's say you make a couple of opening moves, right? Like if I can use maybe Dust 2 as an example, or Inferno's maybe a bit better. Early round, you just go to banana. Maybe you're going to take a couple of pot shots. You know, there's obviously people going to be jiggling you. You're going to miss a couple of shots, or you can get one kill, you miss one shot, right? You're suddenly on 3 out of 5. You have to rotate over to A. You will reload at that point because you don't want to get stuck in a position where you only have 3 bullets and an entire team comes at you. So you'll reload. So you're down to 10 bullets at this point already. Let's say there's going to be another like mid-round move from the T's. You know, they'll pick out or like they'll smoke you off on arch, right? And then you're on long and you're taking that corner. There's going to be somebody jiggling you. You're just going to fire off a couple of bullets. You will reload again because you haven't killed anybody. Suddenly you're on your last and you have 5 bullets left. Or the late round retake or whatever it is. You're going to tell me that 5 bullets is always going to be enough for you to pull off an entire round or like the late round? I don't think so. And if you take it the other way and you're going to be preempting that issue, you're going to be in a round with 3 out of 5 bullets, 2 out of 5 bullets because they don't want to reload yet. And that means you're going to get into a fight where 3 people are coming at you. Maybe you're going to kill one, take a shot to the other. And then for the other 2 guys that are coming at you, you're not going to have bullets left. You're going to have to reload. So it's probably going to be like a 5% difference to the op. It's not significant on the grand scheme of things. It's not a massive difference where like every situation that you play and you're going to get affected. No, but it's going to be enough that those few percent are going to tank the opper even slightly further down that we've seen already, you know? So it's just another step from that direction.
It's objectively making the op some percent worse. You can say whatever number you want. You can disagree. Maybe you can say that's 3%. Maybe it's 8%. I don't know. But it is objectively making the op worse than it was before this update.
I think that leads you to a question though, Prof, is the AWP in a position where they should be making it worse?
And if you look at Pro CS, no. Like this is the whole thing when I was reading comments on like Striker made a tweet or like a couple of tweets and people are like, well, the AWP is very strong. Anyway, it's like we are talking about matchmaking right now. You guys are talking about matchmaking because on the top level, there's 4 good AWP players. That's it. There's not even 5. You know, maybe on the right day there's 5. There's as much as it's a super important weapon, it's been a struggle across the board in Pro CS to have people that are really good with the AWP. And I think the most annoying part is if it limits like the gaming expression of the AWP by not allowing people to get like a quad kill because they ran out of bullets. That fucking sucks. I think when you get like someone in a moment where they have, you know, full mag and they get 4, like the device or Woxic clips on an Inferno, for example. Imagine those clips, but he only has 4 bullets, so he can't get the ace. That's just shit. So, no one is winning. As a viewer, you're not winning off of that, right? It doesn't look sexy. So
do you guys take more of a negative stance against the amount of bullets available to shoot before having to reload, or the reserve ammo? Or a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B?
I think it's like both things are connected, right? Mm-hmm. Because if it was 10 bullets, then it wouldn't, and it was 20 in total, then it would be a lot less important.
Yeah, because if it was 10-10, we don't have a problem, but then also it doesn't really achieve what Valve wanted to achieve, right? Then because you effectively never really have to reload until, you know.
But you still can't really spam with the AWP, right? Like not in the same way.
Yeah.
If what?
Well, so the way that originally was, it was 10:30. So you had 40 shots. Then they made it 5:30. So you lost 5 shots, but you can only shoot 5 at a time to reload. If it's, let's say it was 10:10, then you have 10 shots before you have to reload, but you're also can't be hugely liberal. Like
but I don't think that's really necessarily happened. Like sometimes maybe through a smoke, maybe on Dust 2, if you're like people are crossing you, or, you know, back and forth.
There's also wall bangs and stuff like in banana, like spamming through half wall. You know, it only takes a couple of AWP bullets. You know, if you fired 3 as wall bangs and one of them hits, or one of them's through a smoke, like that's still right. Like so, the other part that's got me thinking about is the idea of limiting the spams, whether it be with an AWP, right, from a previous conversation, or whether it's from the A1S. Is it because having so many kills happen through smokes is not rewarding for a player or a viewer? Do you think
it could be?
You know, is there a reason that they wanted to move like away from?
it's interesting because it makes perfect sense, right? Because of what I was talking about at the beginning with the M4A4 versus the M4A1 difference, right? Because M4A4 you can punish quite relatively easily. If there's an M4A4 spamming you through smoke, you know pretty much instantly where it is. At least very, very general idea. You have very good idea of how you can spam it back.
There's a counterplay, right, to it.
What's right?
There's a counterplay to it, because of the tracers, right?
There's tracers, but also sound, right? Which gives you like an additional idea, right? So it's much easier for you to gain information off of if an A4 is spamming you, as well as killing it back or dealing damage to it back. With an A1S, it takes you quite a long time before you figure out where they're spamming from, if they're smart about it, especially. And or even do anything to them back, because you might not be 100% certain about the angle, things like that, because tracers. So obviously that must have been part of the thinking, that there might be too many kills that you can't do anything about, like too many of those frustrating kills where you just get killed through smoke and there's nothing you could have done about it. Obviously it will still happen, because sometimes like somebody just takes a random random timing and you're still going to kill them and there's nothing you could have done about it, but it's going to be less than that now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of key areas on maps. We mentioned nuke outside being one, but banana is similar. But you see players with A4s just unload down banana as well, right? Because normally there's a certain util set that's thrown so that they know that they have a bit of cover. But yeah, the more you think about it, the more different scenarios that you can say will be impacted. It's just about what level of impact to these scenarios will there be, right? How minor is it? And then if a player makes a bad choice ammo-wise, then that's something that we're talking about, at least from this side, right? Okay, yeah, no, he shot 20 bullets, then reloaded, blah, 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 whatever it's going to be, right? So there's more to discuss from that. Again, I just think people should go and play and see how it impacts them. And is that impact happening to you just something that is you're not used to? So because you're not used to it, you're frustrated? Or are there actual downsides that are glaring and they need to be looked at or addressed by Valve, right? So there's going to be a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. That's the way this type of stuff goes.
That's actually a cool one from Cavalieros. You can consider that some teams will double buy M4 if the economy allows it. That's actually something you could do on some maps depending on where the spawn is and stuff like that. Like you could buy another M4 A1S, for example, and then spam some bullets, swap it to the other one that has like full mags. So that's another little angle that could be used.
Have you guys seen the idea of being able to pick up the leftover mags?
Yeah, that will not happen, I think.
I don't know if it won't, to be honest, because effectively, kind of why not?
I mean, yeah, if you pick up smokes, but I feel like it just becomes like a fucking, I don't know.
But then also, if we're doing that, it's going to have to be ammo type as well. Like, we're going to be talking about the type of ammo that an M4 shoots compared to the type of ammo that a Deagle shoots.
Yeah, maybe it would have to be the same one or whatever like this, because it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of funny to think what that could bring, because obviously you're going to be on like your last mag, and then you have an extra one, but maybe it would have to show how many bullets there are in that extra one, that it's not a full one, because then you could reload into an empty mag, or like one that has like 2 bullets or some shit,
Then why are we even throwing away the mag in the first place then?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a mechanic in like 1.6, I remember, where let's say I was on T roof on nuke as a T and I was spamming my AK, and let's say I used all my bullets, but I could swap my AK with someone who had ammo, and then I could get like 30 bullets, and then they would have then they could have their
they could
reserve.
Reload from that.
Yeah.
I think something like that. Also, when you, I don't know how it worked when you picked it up from like a dead.
It would be whatever was in reserve, right?
Yeah, I don't remember now.
Yeah.
I think
either way, it's not important.
Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, don't like the op part, but I feel like they can also counteract that by just adding another mag if they want to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. I think that would be fine by me.
Yeah.
That's
but I wonder if 1010 would have been better, in that case. Like if instead of doing like 215 or 515, sorry, doing 1010, I feel like it would bring the op a little bit back into usability.
Just last thing I wanted to say on the op is that the whole like reloading wasn't punishing. I think the reality is like the op reload is so long that it was always kind of punishing compared to like every other weapon, right? Except the negative, right?
Yeah,
it takes so long to reload it. That's why we also see a lot of the times Opper do literally just play with 3 bullets. I don't know, overpass. They get like the opening like duels or whatever, 2 bullets down. Then they just don't reload, even though they probably should at some point. But it just takes so long that they don't want to. So that's already kind of a nerf to the reload, already kind of not to nerf, but like how to say, a negative part of the op.
All right, let's move on, right? Because we'll get some matches in this in the future, and we'll get to actually keep our eyes out and see how this impacts the gameplay, and hopefully everybody goes and has a try themselves and see what they think, right? As opposed to just having the knee-jerk reaction. But let's keep it flying because we've got a lot to get into tonight. We're going to jump into the recent news. So last episode we did, that was the in-person episode, right? And
yes.
There we were talking about the malbs-NertZ swap happening with G2 and Liquid, and that ended up happening pretty quickly. Obviously, with Rotterdam on right now, and G2 having signed up for some smaller events, they want to make sure that they can get the matches to get their players on the roster. Liquid were able to get NertZ off the roster, at least, by playing with JL as a stand-in. So at least NertZ is saved, I guess. Now they just need to get malbs off on the other side. So this one coming to fruition or happened pretty quickly. malbs did an interview, though, that where is it here? But essentially he was saying, where did I read the interview?
On ours.
Was it yours?
Yeah.
But essentially he wasn't consulted about it. He was just like, this is happening. Is that the gist?
Well,
Where is the interview? Here we go.
Wait, let me find the actual.
It was imposed. So I want to ask you about how this move came about. When did you learn that this could happen? Was it something that was kind of imposed on you, or did you have a say on it? It was imposed. Like, they came with the offer, and then I received a call from G2 that they had received the offer and that they were willing to do the transfer. And yeah, that's how it happened.
So there's a few things, I suppose, from this to unpack. One, I guess, let's start with the controversy or controversy, depends on where you're from and how you want to say it, like cash and cash. But there was a lot of backlash towards Liquid, being like, how can you region swap this late, right? There's a lot of that angle going on. Prof, is that your take on that? You think that they deserve the
100%, 100% deserved. I mean,
okay.
I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. They probably should do it. Let's just say let's just throw away the number $1 million on the line, whatever. That's fine. Everyone would do it. I think even like the NA guys said, like, I understand, but this fucking sucks. And I think people have why wouldn't you be like whoever the team at Marsborn that were like first below the line or now first below the line is like, they are now not going to have that opportunity because Liquid were too shit to qualify through Europe. And they realized that 2 weeks before the cutoff, right? And it's not, obviously Liquid could have been in NA the whole time. And obviously these teams are maybe not that good, but it doesn't feel nice for sure for the teams that are like, okay, we have a real shot at getting at this. And it's like, oh, this team that has a budget of 200 times ours is now actually competing with us. So yes, we're fucked. You know, that's my opinion. I feel like everyone from NA has a reason to be upset because it's a team that didn't do anything in the region for, forever.
Good amount of time.
Decided to go a different route, and then they figured out they're not good enough for that route, and they came back to take slots from upcoming NA talent that could make money and make their first major. Now it's just going to be a bunch of washed bots. Joke, of course.
Yeah, all right. So on this topic, Striker, you hear the opinion there of Prof. Let's say he's a North American Counter-Strike fan. From a TOR VRS standpoint, do you think this is something that shouldn't be allowed to be exploited? What do you make of it from that angle?
I think, first of all, it would be too difficult to make like a real rule about it that wouldn't limit teams in a certain way. Like there's, I don't know, like the rule is in place, like about how the regions are decided is in place just to identify what a team is, right? Like what region the team belongs to. It doesn't really matter if from its perspective when that happens necessarily. So it's more about like once you've qualified, right? Then that's when it matters. But for me, I honestly couldn't give less of a fuck, because I don't think it would have been any different if Liquid had already been majority American before. Like obviously there's the moment where yes, another team comes into the competition. Bro, they have teams coming into that competition left and right. They have Brazil to contend with all the time, and there's like 10 other teams that could technically usurp them for that spot. So what if it's Liquid? Like, I mean, if you're just on the cusp and you're one spot away, just get good. Like, just get better. Like, legitimately, like if you're not good enough to legitimately compete for that spot, who cares who's up against you in that competition? I mean, it's up to you to do something about that, right? Like, I get it from like a team perspective, like, oh fuck, like there's another, like one more team that we have to overtake. But that's how competition is. Like, it's so. What if it was just a new team that you had to contend with? Like 100 Thieves went North American and they just came to all the Philadelphias and shat on you. Would that be any different? I don't think so. Like, what if 100 Thieves just picked up 3 NA guys, or like 1 South American guy, 2 NA guys from all the best NA people, and then just came and shit all over you at Philadelphia? Would that be any different? I don't really, like, who cares?
But then people will be like, they're supporting NACS, but unlike
now so
Liquid
are Liquid. Now so are Liquid. They have 3 NA players. Now so are Liquid.
I think that a lot of people felt like pretty betrayed by Liquid with them moving away from being an American team. I lean more with Striker's standpoint. And then you could ask yourself from a viewer standpoint, and this one could backfire. Let's see how bad Liquid looked. They looked not terrible today, but who would you rather watch playing at the major, Liquid or MaRaaless? Right?
That's
like,
name 5 players on MaRaaless.
So
challenge impossible.
I know that's not the point.
The coach, I think.
Yeah, I know that's not the point, right? But it's one of those things as well.
I think when you take this your approach and then just push it one step forward, it's like, what is the point of any regional spots then? It's like, why aren't we just making teams that can go and play in Asia, like qualify through Asia?
That's a great
right?
question. I think we should.
Right, and then we're just destroying the whole system over like two majors, right? Because then no one can do anything, because we're going to get the JKS and like 1.5 other good players from Australia.
10 years, yeah.
And just take those slots at any point, but play in Europe exclusively the whole time. Like, we can... the regional representation exists for a reason, and obviously there's edge cases, but it's different when it's, well, this is the problem. The problem is that it feels like they made this, at least 50% of why they made this specific roster change is exactly only to be eligible for this major spot. It's not like, we're gonna find there's fucking exotic if you didn't have other business ventures to explore, for example, and they're like, fuck it, we're gonna get exotic instead of ultimate, and now we're in NA. It's like, it just is because this is the player that we want, and also we're supporting it. We got a new guy in, whatever. It is literally, they just like, fuck, malbs is actually, fuck, we didn't think about this. malbs can get us to the major, not by playing good, just by being on the roster.
This
just
is
by playing
interesting.
5 maps.
I wonder who initiated this conversation, right? Was it G2 who were more interested in NERtZ, or was it Liquid who were more interested in malbs, or was it just a marriage of ideas that worked out perfectly for both of them in a way, right? Because it's a situation where when you take a look at these players, obviously NERtZ returning to be with Saw and Sampius, and we're hoping to get a better level of Counter-Strike out of him because it hasn't been good, at least the most recent times, or most of his time in Liquid, I would say. Actually, it's been pretty mid. For malbs, I then look at it, I'm like, well, now you got to play with a Liege. Like, how are we going to balance those two aggressive riflers in the team as well? So there's a lot of things that kind of get split open from this. But the one that seemed to get the most interest from the community was not, is this going to work for these teams? Was, Liquid have snaked themselves a major spot in Americas. That was the main conversation point around this.
And that's sad to a degree, because I do think that people are kind of reducing the conversation only to that, when there's actually kind of a lot of nuance between those two players, right? Because people just think it's a one
Tell us
for
about
one.
the nuance. Tell us about it. Tell us what's interesting.
That's what I was going to get into, right? Because it's not just a 1-for-1. There's going to be a lot of changes in both teams to make this happen, right?
Has
so
to be.
It's clearly, even they said it on the broadcast that Darth Mike was talking to malbs kind of on the side after the interview and said, like, he kind of confirmed that it was going to be in anchor spots for Liquid, which is obviously wasn't happening in G2. He was in a lot of rotator spots, and it wasn't really working out for him, even though, theoretically he should have been more in tune with those roles, right? But like when he first joined G2, he was in the anchor spots, and actually he was a star anchor. I mean, he was outperforming those positions by quite a lot compared to a lot of the same players in the same positions, right? So in this case, they just want a better anchor, and then make sure that they can put other people in the rotator spots to allow for other people to have more space on the team,
who
right?
that other person's going to be, right?
Who do you think that's going to be?
It's going to be Shui. Yeah. So, like, before he kind of got shoved to the extremities, right? Because Elige comes in, then Shui sacrifices there.
He doesn't like that.
No, well, it's look. I know that there's some teams where star players are able to play those type of positions, and we're like, oh, they're fucking sick, man. But look at Vitality. Apex is the comm player, right? It is the position that you can read what's happening the most in the map and call the quick changes in the CT setups and whatnot. So it's one of those things which, look, if you have a donk, you're putting donk in connector. But if you don't have a donk, you're probably not putting a guy who's not donk in connector. Right, like there's a few players.
Well, I think you are putting a guy that's not donk in connector because you don't have donk.
Yeah, but
it's gonna be anyone else.
You're not putting a player for necessary like multi-kill output completely own that. It's having a better read as a team on what's coming your way, right? Like,
it's interesting because recently, side noting on the side note, but at the same time, like FURIA had Yakindar playing that role in connector, and then recently they were actually. Yakindar goes short and KSerato goes in connector because in their vision, connector is a very fight. You do a lot of aim duels, and Yakindar was talking too much, so they put him on short, which is still kind of like active role, but not as active. So it's a completely different. So then
philosophy
you have
there,
you have KSerato is like obviously very very skilled, but not maybe as vocal. Then you have Apex who's super vocal, not super skilled. Then you have Donk who's Donk, whatever. Not really worth a comparison to anything else.
But I mean, my point about the nuance was more that, like, obviously there was a slight problem with Elige and NertZ being maybe typically a little too close to each other in terms of what they want to do, right? Because neither of them are a true opener or a true entry. They are more of a, like, solo guys, right? That just want to make plays, but more on the sides or whatever it is. They're aggressive, but they're not an opener in the true sense of the word.
Who are the two players you were comparing? Elige and who?
Elige and NertZ.
Yeah, no, that is true. I think
that's kind of what's causing clashes in Liquid in some ways, right? Because they would both want to do the same things, but you would want somebody to be in front of Elige when it came to executes and things like that. But there was nobody who could take that position and be good at it. Of course, like
this is what I didn't get about complexity, because he was always like kind of the guy going in first there, and I mean,
he was going pretty aggressive at that point. But I think it was just more out of necessity than anything else. Obviously, he could have done this here too, but there were other people who could do that, and maybe he just thought that this time he actually does have the firepower around him, that he doesn't have to do everything from the front, right? He doesn't have to be the donk that just like constantly goes for fights everywhere, right? So but that's probably what he was thinking, at least. I don't know. It's just a theory, but that's why I think that this is much more than just a 1-for-1. I think it's, first of all, it's going to allow Elige to shine a bit more because he's going to have a malbs in front of him in a lot of these executes, or in a lot of these opening plays. Malbs is way more of a flamesy type of a player than Elige ever was, or NertZ ever was, because NertZ is like, when they first moved NertZ in those positions, it just didn't work. He wasn't comfortable in making those plays and being in front of the team. He would rather be alone and making those aggressive plays.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a baity boy profile, right? He'll get the space and then he'll be working somewhere on an extremity with a timing or what, but right in the weeds of some smokes and stuff.
With information than getting that information. That's the point, and that's not a bad thing. You're calling him baity, but you just need some of those players, right? Like Rops is obviously another guy like that sometimes, where obviously he's a bit more passive than that, but he obviously works more with information than getting it on T sides, and he does it really well. And NertZ obviously not the same position, but is kind of the same archetype in that sense, So I just believe that this is much better than it looks on paper as a change.
Well, just to be clear, when you're saying, it's not a 1-for-1, what you mean is position-wise.
Yes.
You don't mean there's more changes to come, do you, Striker?
No, I don't mean
let's
that.
Keep it moving. Nah, that's sad.
No.
But
that is sad.
Yeah. I wanted to backtrack for a second, even though we're deep on this. The thing that you said about who initiated it, Striker, do you know?
I don't know. I mean, my best guess would be that it was G2, because they've been after NertZ before. So I would imagine, especially now
the
that
prospect just got juicy enough for Liquid to say yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Listen, guys, you're not going to make the major if you don't take malbs off our hands. Give us nuts, man. We want him back, man.
I mean, it could be, right? I mean, it's obviously a big motivation factor suddenly for Liquid, because first of all, NertZ is not working out. He's just not really performing to the level that you wanted him to, and even that was even through changes in the roles, right? Because originally he was kind of the big opener when Twists was still in game leading. Then it changed. Then he went back more into the positions that he wanted to play. But then Elige wants to play a lot of the same stuff. So obviously you're just not getting what you wanted out of him. So you're also more motivated to let go of him, right? And for G2, he's more of a solution to a problem that they've had before, because Matthis is already aggressive enough that he can take over a lot of these like pure entry, pure opener positions, and then NertZ can be the guy who will make more of those aggressive solo plays on the side rather than
make moves.
Exactly, rather than being the space taker, right? So it does feel like a lot of a win-win situation. Who it came from originally, yeah. Again, my best guess would be G2 just because of the history there, but it just felt like such a no-brainer that like both sides probably had that idea at some point.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk more about Liquid, at least when we get into the stuff regarding I almost said bounty again. Blast Open Rotterdam, guys. Get the event name right, or don't get it at all. But we'll talk more about Liquid there, because some of the games have been played. We're on second day of the groups, which is the second group's opening matches right now. Let's just quickly skim over this other stuff. Again, there'll be lots more. Yeah. Let me just finish the recent news, man. Let me just finish the recent news.
I have a funny thing. I was just looking up some headlines. I found a headline says, NertZ, me and Elige are aligned in the way we see CS. Maybe even too aligned. Because they want to play the same role.
The exact same way. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, last one here on recent news. We can save the Cologne Major race check, and that can be part of the storylines for Rotterdam. So Navi win EPL, just to close the book on this one. Navi versus Aurora in the final, best of 5. I think shout out to Mr. Makazi Drin Shachiri, gets his first MVP, first trophy, at least of that caliber for Navi since 2024, which is Rio. Spirit and MOUZ shit the bed. Two teams who should have an open runway for the final. Spirit looked dog shit. We'll talk more about them soon. MOUZ continuing to add new teams who they can lose to, which is always fun. So on this one, gentlemen, Prof, you were there. So any thoughts as a man who was there? I was there. Yeah,
I was there. Cool event. Nice size, 1,000 people ish, something like that. I think people enjoyed having something different. Spoke to some fans and stuff that went to like Austin or Krakow or stuff like that, and they were like, you know what, this is pretty nice. This is quite nice. It's like kind of intimate. You see people, you see the players. You're kind of close to everything. Prices were Swedish. Bag of popcorn, like €8. What the fuck is going on here? That's insane. But it was good. So yeah, I enjoyed the event from the event side. I think they did a good job, and also 4 best of 3s in a day worked out. So that's a good indicator for future ESL playoffs going into like the proper 18 brackets.
Yeah, there was a crazy turnout for the MONGOLZ game. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Could have been a lot worse though in terms of those the quarterfinals, because the two, I mean the Spirit stomp at the end. I don't think I don't think we expected that.
But Blast finished last night at 1 a.m. with so
All right, Vitality going to make
event.
sure they're done pretty quick tonight. So that's fast by them.
Yeah, so good event overall. And then talking about the teams, I think the biggest thing is talking about NAVI and where this puts them. And then also where Vitality is compared to like a MOUZ and a Spirit, who are the only other teams I feel like, together with Falcons, these are the 4 teams who are thinking of like, can be winning
Vitality.
stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's just like Vitality, even without playing the event, just like further themselves away from the pack, which is kind of fucked up, to be honest. That's kind of fucked up. It's really fucked up.
The status quo is very similar to as it was before. Nothing really has changed too heavily, if not, like you're saying, going too far the other way. But that's it, right? We'll get to see Vitality, who are owning NertZ right now, how they fare against some of the opponents later this week. Striker, any quick takeaways of the EPL? We are going to talk about, if you want to talk about Spirit or MOUZ, we're going to get into those.
Nothing really like that comes to mind at the moment, other than what you guys spoke about. We can get into the specific teams a bit more for sure.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's jump into this straight away, Lucas. Here is the Blast Open Rotterdam overview page, if you could bring that up with just the brackets so far. So Group A was played yesterday. Group B is being played today. The opening rounds, they're doing 4 best-of-3s a day. The group stage games are going to run all the way up until Monday, and then they're going to fly to Rotterdam, where there will be 2 quarterfinals, 2 semifinals, and a grand final. No third place decider at this one. So
that's good, I think, for this event, probably.
Like, I think too many of anything is bad.
Yeah, I mean, the third place decider for EPL was good because it was foot against Astralis, right? 2 teams with something to prove, not a lot of land games, not a lot of stage games. VRS in the, not questionable, but like not super established. So for both of these teams, it meant a lot. And I think that gave us a good game where you could see that both teams were really in it. With the flaws that they have and the upsides that they have. It wasn't a perfect game, but it was a good game. It was an exciting game to watch. So I think the conclusion is you need to have Astralis in the third place game, because the only other one I remember is the FaZe one.
Yes. Well,
and they had another one. They played like 4 of them.
Astana, wasn't it? They played. Yeah. Well, no, it was Astana
was
final.
Final. But...
Yes. Yeah. But look, either way, we did mention that, didn't we, gentlemen? A long time ago, when talking about third place deciders, it was always going to depend on the stakes and how important that game would be. So vindicated once more. Anyway, quickly just smash through these. So Group A opening games, Falcons over NRG, NAVI over Bait, Aurora over FaZe, and FURIA over TYLOO. Today, PARIVISION over NIP, Spirit over Liquid, TheMongolZ over MOUZ, so there's an upset, and Vitality is smashing NertZ right now. So that brings us up to speed with this. So what I wanted to do today, Lucas, I'm going to share my screen. So you can whack this one up and we can do this. Share screen with others. This one right here. Okay. If I go F11, that'll work. Can you guys... If I go slideshow, Lucas, I'm going to have to edit shit, so it's not going to be any good. I'm just going to have to keep this as like this. Is that cool? Okay. There we go. So, guys, what we're going to do is there's a whole lot of storylines around Blast Open Rotterdam. Whether that be directly regarding the teams and what level of output we're expecting, whether that be the major qualification, whether that be a stand-in situation with Falcons and Nucleons. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we want to get into here tonight. Now, these are the storylines that I just wrote down myself. I want people to really enjoy the picture here. This is me, Striker, and Prof as 1920s reporters trying to get the scoop. That's us right there.
Honestly, I feel like this is a personal attack on me because you 2 guys look exactly how you look. And the fucking AI changed how I look so much.
I don't know. I feel like I got like 20 kilos in the face. I feel like chubbed up.
Well, that's baby.
Like I'm eating good on these like press tours,
I literally look like a different person. So great.
Look, they're only for to demonstrate, to take everybody back to the time where we'd be yelling and, we're trying to get the scoop, because that's what we're trying to get now. So these are the storylines I've written. If we want clarification on these storylines or to expand them or to add others, now is our time to do that.
I just realized one thing, by the way. The tools we each have are like all completely wrong, because I should have the pen and paper, Prof should have the camera, and you should have the megaphone.
There we go.
Hey, look, I'll go back into the lab with the AI and see what we can come up with in the future. Okay. Here are the headlines. Vitality returned to the field. Now we could be we We don't have to. We can leave that one as is because that's encompassing. Falcons, Nucleon's Kyosuke situation. TYLOO, long time no see. We haven't seen them play in ages. NAVI and Aurora chase the momentum from EPL. Spirit looking for bounce back because their loss over EPL was fucking miserable. Do MOUZ really still believe? They're still saying they believe in interviews. They're even refuting any conversation about roster changes, even though players from other teams are talking about their potential roster changes. FaZe removed Neo. There's a whole conversation itself right there. They got Groovy as the coach for this one. PARIVISION consistency is being tested, right? This is the perfect team to plays to level their opponents. Cologne qualification implications. So from this event, how could this change things for people's VRS and Major? Liquid with malbs. FURIA looking to silence the downward slide because they started to have a couple of odd losses. Do we have any other stories that we would add to this list?
Oh yeah, G2 is not here. Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah,
they missed out.
I could put MONGOLZ without Mara again, right? Because we already knew that was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, their EPL outing felt so unserious. The way they played that game really felt like no teacher in the classroom today.
Well, they didn't take any timeouts again today, so yeah. So
to be honest,
they didn't have to be honest.
Yeah, they did kind of smash out, and I mean in the post game, Mazinho was talking about it. He was like, "We didn't want to give Cyclone time on the mic," and like that's fair. It's also like a bit of respect towards the coach, which is nice to hear. But you know, we don't have a coach. We have no one. We can talk all the time. Their guy can't talk all the time. So let's just not do it. Not the worst thing.
Yeah, sometimes you just wish they'd give himself a breather. But at the end,
I mean, the way they played at EPL, it was just full on. It was 100% gas, throttle all the way. So, anything else to add to this? I mean, you kind of have everything. NIP, honestly, NIP is kind of
in the Cologne qualification area, though. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
are we happy with this?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, we have 12 items here. Okay.
A lot of items.
What we're going to do is we're going to place set items from 1 to 12. Now, here we are in a laboratory.
Okay. This time actually it looks like me. Great.
And we're trying to decipher what is the most important. And we can only do that with a scientific method known as a conversation. So that's what we're going to have right now. We're going to converse. So I'm going to flick back here. And Striker, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think? Right? Because we can move these up and down as we go. But you want to start at the top? Do you want to start at the bottom?
Let me think.
How do you want to kick this off? Look at us, man. We're having such a great time.
It's kind of hard to pick. Okay, let me see what I cared the least about.
The least about, I think that's easiest.
That's going to be the easiest, I think. I would say the MOUZ really still believe. I think put that at the bottom.
There we go.
We said we would stop talking about that. Let's start here.
I'll put him there as a temp holding at 12, but we will discuss this.
Okay.
Prof, how do you want to put a team?
Yeah, okay, sorry.
How could this be the bottom? Can you see the logic here? How could this be the least important story? Prof, I am hoping they don't...
important. It's the least interesting to me.
I want it higher up. I want them to lose in groups. I need them to stop believing. We need it to change over there, boys. Come on.
Striker.
But that's the negative connotation to this. Okay, I get it. Because I was like, yeah.
When MOUZ win this tournament, Striker, your apology will be as loud as your disrespect. Let it be noted. Let it go down in the history. This is crazy. No, for me, I would definitely put it higher. I don't know if you want to put them all in and then rearrange them, or how do you want to do this?
Look, he's come in here at 12. I would put it like just temporarily now at 8, right? Because just being serious for a second, their losses are starting to get more plentiful and more questionable.
Yes.
Bountiful.
Right? So, yes, that too. And that does really now start to cause concern. I got tagged in some play.gg interview today where they've referenced me as the man who was spreading the rumors about the MOUZ change over the break after the major. I'm just saying things I heard. We're at the major. I heard that Falcons were interested in Jimmy.
You're spreading.
Yes. Yeah. But
it's always spreading.
But we're not the only ones who heard things, because I spoke to other people who heard things. So people are hearing things from somewhere. And also, how many times has Apex in interviews mentioned, I don't know how good their mental can be because, they were talking about roster changes over the break and stuff. So is he just quoting? Does he believe that? Because I said that?
He's just putting this out to disrupt the moral of MOUZ. Nothing
Which is great.
He is just making up stuff and putting it out there. He's like, yeah, I heard this guy wanted to leave and blah, blah.
Side note, did you guys hear XANTARES' interview today?
XANTARES? No.
Yeah,
no.
Because he kind of just shot it to the side where he was like, yeah, and from what I know, NERtZ also didn't want to be there. So I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, but it's fair. These things are real.
For me, MOUZ's potential demise is top 4 stories of this event.
Really?
Yes.
But that's a different storyline than this. But okay.
Well, but
it's all part of the same thing. You don't take it literally.
We can change. We can change it. We can change it. Let's do this. MOUZ's potential. I can't spell.
Demise.
Then put that in number 1.
What?
Yeah, here we go.
What, Striker?
Because the way you portrayed it in the first one was a potential positive spin. I was like, no, I'm not having that.
Nobody believes.
He is French. I don't know what that means, but it's just so funny.
Put it where we want. It's not the top or it's not the
it's
bottom.
Not the top one. I'd put it in there about 6 for now. I'd put it here about 6.
Let's see how it works out.
Okay. Let's go number 2. Some other one.
I would put MONGOL still maaRaaless at number 12 because we already knew that we're going to be playing without Mara.
Yeah,
it was announced well in advance.
Let's do that. Also, in general, Mongols don't practice. Mongols don't take timeouts. Nothing they do makes any sense. They're just kind of a mystery, and that's fine.
Look, can they play good Counter-Strike? Is it fun watching Cobra Zero in the server? Yes. Do they hit hard? Was 910 having some good games today? Yes. That doesn't mean that I'm not excited about the Mongols. That just means the Mongols storyline of Mara not being there is not very interesting because he already wasn't there for EPL.
No.
Right? And their needle hasn't moved for me. Their needle would have to move at this event, right? They would have to make the top 6 and they'd have to beat someone decent in the playoffs. And this is a stacked event, right? Everyone's here. So
they're beating somebody decent.
Yeah, but they beat MOUZ, who were preying on their potential demise. I know that they had never beaten them in a best of 3 before. It was only that best of 1 back at...
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Never won a map against MOUZ. Mongols have never won a map against MOUZ. That is quite crazy. I heard Scrawny say this on the cast, and I was like, these casters lying again, as they always do. Nope, checked it. It was real. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
TYLOO. Yeah. Number 11.
But Prof, this is huge for the Asia region's major qualifications.
Why?
It's not going to be if they go 0-2.
Exactly. So they have to do well here.
Well, they don't have to because they have their own local things, but yeah, I get it.
There's going to be probably 2 lands probably.
I guess you mitigate my point by saying, well, it doesn't really matter that much because they can go play the local lands. But in the context of them doing well, it does matter.
Like if they win here, they secure the major. If not, they have to go home and do something. I
also think, I was kind of excited to see TYLOO again just because, first of all, they're coming in with a new team. And also, secondly, it feels like we haven't seen them in forever. Like, when's the last time we saw them at the major? I'm pretty sure.
We hadn't seen them at an international tournament since the major. Yes, that is correct.
So we haven't seen them for almost 5 months.
And they have a new bloke, Zero, who got like a sick ace with the dual predators on overpass yesterday. That was really nice.
That was pretty nice.
G almost had some banger clutches. Bro, Fallen had some massive rounds. That was a 6 series last night.
Somehow.
That was a 6 series. I enjoyed that.
I'm not saying TYLOO are bad, just saying I'm not really too excited about them right now. Let me see. Give me something to work with, and then we'll see.
Okay, maybe we can find something else that can take their second to last spot here, but we'll see. So FaZe Neoless, this is a broader one, right? in terms of a Blast Open Rotterdam storyline, I don't think Neo not being there is going to impact anything too heavily. But for a FaZe storyline about the future of this team, it's very interesting, right? Because the messaging coming out is this wasn't a choice made by the players, which is what we've learned with the whole Jacob situation. And that means that the org is aggressively searching to change things up. Now, what level of impact can that have? Because I think a lot of people disappointed recently, whether it's the Valve update, the Liquid move as an American, or people wanting more changes in FaZe. The sentiment seems to be, yeah, look, that's a start, but why is this guy still here? Why haven't you cut this guy?
I'm not even sure the sentiment generally is that that's a start. The sentiment generally is, why was that a start? Why was that the start?
Okay, yeah, fair. Okay. So this FaZe conversation, I would put it either just above or just below the MOUZ thing.
Yeah, I would put it maybe even above. It's, just this whole FaZe conversation, because there's implications about their major, right? Depending on how they do here. I'm not saying they won't make it. I still think they'll make it because they have a few like little parachutes to like fall into the Draculans and co. But the implications of that, if they play bad here, obviously there's some pressure on that. The future of the team, the roster. In my opinion, changing the coach first, by the way, just makes a lot of sense. Like, why would you do it the other way around? Why would you have Neo pick like replacement players
if he's not going to be coaching
and then replace Neo? But
like, I also don't think that he was the one who would have been picking replacement players. Maybe that's what they're looking for now, right?
Yes, because now if Jacob was like a pick decided by the org, right, then they need someone within the team that can help them make these decisions, right? Understand what kind of dynamic they have in the team, what is a good player for the line. But like, a coach needs to be involved in that process.
You have to wonder if, like, considering it first of all came from the top, right, as it's been the case for a while now with FaZe, do you think this is them kind of moving away from karrigan as I'm not necessarily meaning that they will kick him or anything, but just more in terms of him being the captain of this team, right?
I thought that happened with the Jacob situation, didn't it?
Of course, but that was like the first sign, right? But I think this is the clear change of direction, because karrigan was the guy who brought on Neo. karrigan was obviously the guy who brought on all of these players that they've gotten pretty much all the way until Jacob, right? And now they didn't even consult maybe at the end they consulted karrigan, but the rain removal completely went over their heads. This Neo removal went completely over their heads. karrigan was barely even consulted. He was good. He said he was going to be consulted on, like, when they narrow down the selection to some coaches, when they actually have a list of people that they want to replace Neo, then they will consult karrigan. But it feels like it's not going to be his call at the end. It's just he's just going to have some input, right? And that just feels like there's a big shift in FaZe's approach to this lineup, and who's actually going to have the reins over it, because it almost feels like they now do want it to be more headed by the coach, right? Which was never the case before. It was never Neo, it was never Robin, it was always karrigan.
I have a theory they just ride this out, unless it's Ash, right? Because someone was watching something he was streaming the other day, and he said "we" in reference to FaZe. I don't know if I didn't even look into this, so I don't know how true it is. It's just one of those things where you're scrolling through and you see it. But like, let's assume it's not Ash. Ride out the season and then see what karrigan does after Cologne. Because, like,
what do you mean what karrigan does?
Well,
wins the major or not wins the major.
Like, do you
He's not gonna say the R word.
Let's say they have a poor major striker. do you want to stick with karrigan if you have a bad major?
No, but
So then, what if karrigan wants to coach? What if, like, it's like, listen, Finn, we don't want to extend a contract with you as a player. We would love to have you as a coach and be the future of FaZe from the coaching position. Right? Do you want to do this? We understand
that's realistic.
That he would want to do it? I don't know.
That they would want him to do it.
Why wouldn't they want him to do it?
Well, again, because, like, the way that they've gone so far,
it's different with him as a coach, as a player, right? There's a difference there.
Is it?
Well, if he's not playing, unless he's going to do adapts, bro. Unless he's planning on getting back in the server every 6 to 12 months.
In terms of player replacements, I mean, starting from Jacob, right? That was very clear signal from them that they don't really believe in karrigan sticking with his old friends, right?
Bro,
with Rain
come
and all
on
these
a
things.
second. Let's think. This is crazy. The fucking player they get, Finn's wife, was the mental coach of the team the kid was at. Like, what are we fucking talking about?
Are you saying nepotism?
No, I'm just saying there's not even 3 degrees of separation there. Like we're not even that to me.
Yeah,
doesn't...
but do we think that like I feel like that storyline is just so overplayed, man? Because do we really think
storyline or the wife storyline?
The wife storyline? Like, I'm sure she came across him and had some conversations, but do we really think that she had massive input in how the guy was playing or how the guy was, like, how good of a fit he would be in FaZe?
Well,
no, I don't think so.
I think they were just desperate.
A coincidence.
That was like
that's what I mean.
That's an option they had, right? That's an option they knew more about than any other option, right? So they knew something about this guy versus pretty much nothing about some other people. But
my point was, like, karrigan didn't even want Rain to be kicked right at this point to bring Jacob in. I mean, if it was up to karrigan, they would have wrote out the major with Rain, rather than just come up with just a relatively random roster change in the middle of the season, right? So I think I'm not saying that they shouldn't believe in karrigan. I still think that he has what it takes to put together like a really competitive roster, as long as he has the money for it, or like he can actually grab to some of the more interesting players rather than just recycle older players or come up with just completely random talent. That's obviously not going to be proven. You're going to be taking gambles all the time. The problem with FaZe now is they haven't had the money to give to a karrigan to actually build a really competitive roster. So both ways as well, like whether karrigan has enough faith in the organization and whether would they have enough faith in him being able to build a competitive roster with the constraints that they have.
Okay, do this for me then. Offer me 3 candidates. Actually, offer me 1 candidate that right now is not coaching a team who you'd want to pick up to be the man to run your Counter-Strike division in the future.
I think people were going to hate this, but Ash.
But that's the only one you've got.
It is the one. It is the only one I've got.
What about Kassad?
Like,
why are you laughing?
Outside of
Kassad, not even because of what his CS knowledge or ability.
Outside of Ash, right? You can't really think of anybody on the market who you would, want to do that.
I would have to look. But
off the top of your head is the whole point. Like that's the point. There's no obvious solution here. There's a relatively obvious solution, but
that's the karrigan one.
No, that's the Ash one.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Yes, Prof.
I have many thoughts.
Okay, so let me just expand on that for a second, right? Like, why I think Ash would be a good fit is because exactly what I was saying earlier. You're not going to be able to grab into the pool of players who are proven, who are stars at the moment. You're going to have to grab and you have to go into the pool of players who are unproven, who you have to scout, who you have to bring up and make them play better than what they have been so far. Ash has a proven record at that. Of course, he's made some missteps, whether it was Gamer Legion or him making some of those decisions, you never know. But obviously his track record has worsened over time, but I think he's getting way more shit for a couple of missteps in Kersey, especially.
Well, they could never find an AWPer. It wasn't just Kersey. Like they had like fucking 6 AWPers come through. None of them were any good.
Well, they had Slend and he wasn't
and
great.
He was okay. It was okay at best, right?
Right, but then they tried Kersey. But again, like the way that I heard about it wasn't necessarily just Ash who made that decision. It was also the org who was pushing for a change that direction.
They also wanted Jambo, no?
Huh?
They also wanted Jambo, but couldn't get him.
That was I think one of the ideas.
But they also have Hypex now, and that was like Ash was there then. Like, when was the last time they had a good AWPer in Gamer Legion?
Who is a good AWPer in the world anyway?
How do you just come up with?
I know, but like that's the problem that FaZe are trying to solve. And then the other issue that FaZe are trying to solve is another one that Gamer Legion didn't necessarily have the best times with. It was the in-game leader.
Yeah.
The ZTR or Snacks, right? It's like, so those are the same problems. Like, if you get to the point, here's another problem you're going to have. Okay, so you say, okay, Ash, you're coming in as the coach. karrigan, you need to do as you're told now. Good fucking luck.
That's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's what I wanted to say from the beginning. Like if this is going to happen and it's going to happen in the way that karrigan leaves a team sooner or later.
I would
Like,
rather
and I mean
keep
sooner.
karrigan as a coach, even though he's untested. I would rather, if I was FaZe, I would want karrigan to be the future of my Counter-Strike team. And I know that seems
disagree on that as
crazy.
well.
Okay, why? Because of the state it's in now?
Yes, because of that, and also I think he needs to take time off. Honestly,
okay.
Because there is no reason for you to, after this career of 15 years, to go straight from a playing position to a coaching position in the same team where you already have established relationships with the players, and now your relationship is different, and you need to be the guy cutting these guys. I mean, obviously he was doing this before as well, but I think it makes everything much worse and more difficult for him because he was led to this position pretty much. He led to this position with help, quotation marks, or not help from the FaZe management. I think he could be the best FaZe coach ever, but I don't think he should go straight from IGLing to coaching.
That's fair.
But more than that, I think it's not necessarily because of the relationships he has on the team. It's because he hasn't been able to fix this team for a long time now. So why would we think he would be able to do it from a coaching position? You know, like why? Of course, you can get a different in-game leader who's going to have maybe better output or whatever it is, but obviously the vision's still going to be his. But he hasn't been able to solve it. So why he would just be thrust into the same problem again, just from a different position? You know, I don't see why he would suddenly magically resolve all the issues because he's not the IGL anymore. You know, so also from that perspective, it
would have to. This is the thing, though, right? Like, if we're playing this thought experiment, so a different coach is going to come in, which means karrigan has to. If it is Ash coming in, then we would agree that karrigan has to go.
Yes.
Okay, so then if karrigan has to go,
and not because they can't work together in theory, just because of the legacy, the history of everything that has happened. Because karrigan, you can't have Big Boss now being, you know, just listening to orders.
It doesn't work that way. Yes, that's true.
It's just a human nature thing.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with karrigan, Ash, FaZe. You just can't have that. You never demote people in companies. You give them promotions and you fire them. That's the only two options.
Yep. I think it's hard for any coach who has to coach a karrigan or a Fallen, right, at this stage, right? Like, you're definitely going to have valuable things and you're going to bring value, but it'll always be their game and how they view the game as the backbone of all of it. So if the idea is that FaZe want to go in a new direction and they want to bring in someone who can take over the team, well, karrigan has to go. So you have to replace karrigan. So then, are you replacing karrigan? Are you going to put Twist in the in-game leadership role? Because I know people are going to go, "Oh, the Liquid thing was no good." The Liquid thing was better when he was in-game leader than Liquid is now. So,
Pactos Bomba.
Yeah, but he didn't want to do it by the end. I think it's just clear that he's not ready for that yet. So could have been because of the team in part, of course, and all that stuff. But I'm not sold more because of Twists rather than, you know, that I don't believe that he could actually do it.
But then you're going to have a problem where you're going to have to get a player to be an in-game leader. And then the other position you're probably changing is it has to be AWP, right? Like, I don't know how long we keep doing this. It's like we're fucking abusing ourselves at the moment. What, broke your rifles?
No.
I would have been on board. It would have given me more hope than most things going on at the moment.
I don't think that's going to solve anything because obviously he's kind of heavy on AWP in general, but these days in CS2 you just have to rifle so much more as well, and I don't think he's that much better as a rifler.
Output, then.
That's what I mean. Like I just don't think he's like, usually AWPers, the AWPers that are good these days are also good because they're good rifles at the same time. You know, it's not because they're just amazing at the AWP and that's the only thing they can do. You can only say that about molodoj, really, out of all the AWPers we have these days. Like, he's the only like very dedicated, very good AWPer that we have in CS2 right now. Everybody else is effectively a hybrid in how we would look at AWPers in the past.
That's fair. All right. Well, we've said a lot about this FaZe topic. I think that means that they're in a pretty good spot where they are right there.
Maybe they should go even to the top, but let's. All
right. Well, I want to bring another one in here. Hi, boys. Spirit looking to bounce back. I want to bring this one in, and I want to put it straight in at number 2. I want to bring this straight in at number 2. Now, let me read you from the Magic's interview that I'm sure you've read, but maybe some of our viewers and listeners haven't. So this interview with Magic's once they got to Copenhagen. You're straight out of EPO into a new tournament. First off, I've got to ask you, what happened during that match against Astralis? Because you won you're 3 games online, not the best opponents, but still convincing wins. And then you get into the match against Astralis, and it was a mess. It was like you were never in the game at all. Magic's response. I'll start with late game stuck. They fluked the... Yeah, I'll start with the late game sucks. They fluked the win, and FaZe life gamed, just to wake up the next day to play against Aurora and post 1 frag per 8 rounds. So just lucky for him. Now, I will say, look, I got nothing wrong with FaZe, right? I think the guy's a sound lad. I like the way he talks in interviews. But that, like, some people got so upset by that Magic's answer, and I was like, are you guys crazy? Like, this is it. This is what grudges and shit are built on, right? And the thing he's saying, I can get on board. When was the last time Spirit had a game that bad? It was like 2 years ago in a Cologne.
Yeah,
when was the last time Donk had a game that bad? It was a complete anomaly of a day. They were undefeated on Dust 2 with this roster this year up until that Astralis game, who fucking suck on Dust 2, right? It was one of those days where that team, they didn't look connected at all. They weren't on the same page. And that's why...
According to Apex, who is obviously the ultimate authority.
Well, look, I've put his Spirit looking for bounce back. And the reason I put this so high is because if Donk goes out and has another stinker at any point, like an absolute stinker like he did in that one, or the team looks as disconnected as they did, then we have some real problems. Because after that loss, I'm seeing, bring back Chopper, Magic sucks. I'm reading all this shit, and I'm like, guys, how many different ways do you want to have your cake and eat it? They say in interviews, this is Hallie's system. Magic's just calling that, right? They call it Hallie's the architect of the system. So then if you think that their T side or their approach to the game is really that dog shit, that's on Hallie, right? That before you go to Magic's, that's on Hallie before you get like blaming Magic's. And like, then you look at just how out of character that series was for Donk, right? I'll bring it up right now. I fucking implore people to go and do this themselves, right? Go up to the search bar, type the little kid's name. He's called Donk. It's an easy one. He made it so all of us could do it really easy. Hit complete statistics for Donk. Hit matches. Have this fucking bad boy on the screen. Let me see if I can bring this in. Hold up. I'll share something new, Lucas, which is going to fuck the thing that's being shared right now.
Just add a new slide here.
A new slide? How can
right click, add new slide, and then put the screenshot.
It's not a screenshot. I'd be scrolling for days, Prof. That's the point.
Okay.
Right? Like, let me see here. Hold up. This one.
It's been a long time since he had a series like that, let's just say.
A very long time. And that's what I wanted to show people. Okay, here we go. Everyone see this? Okay, here's the series right here. This is against Astralis at EPL. Okay, so sure, there's a red rating there, but overall for the series, pretty good. I'm laughing because of how absurd the contrast between a 1.8 and a 0.58 is. But either way, so yeah, a couple of reds, a red here, a red there, but that's not a great series from him, but definitely not as diabolical as this, right? Let me go. We're scrolling. All right, next set of games. Okay, maybe a red, another red. Okay, they're not great, but that's pretty good. That's in a fucking 13-5 loss. He had a 1.68 rating. Keep going. That's pretty terrible. I think that's one of his worst ratings ever, right? But when we get down to
like G2 was the
Cologne G2, yeah. Just trying to find it with it. Here it is. This here. That is the last time.
24,
yeah. August 2024. Last time we had a result that was equally as bad as that one that we saw them play at EPL. So my point here is it's high because I don't expect them to have another fucking game where they just shit the bed. I think they're going to be fine. I think everything's going to be okay. I don't know if it should be that high, but fucking Jason predicting them to lose as well, off nothing and being right, it makes me more mad than anything in the world. It's so irrational, the prediction. It's like, I'm basing this on nothing, but they're going to lose. Oh, no, but they didn't look great. When was the last time, Jason, Donk had a game that... Jason's not even here. Fuck.
For us.
This is the wrong podcast.
Battling ghosts. It's okay, Chad. We're here for you. We'll never predict Spirit to lose to Astralis, so it's fine.
Where are we moving?
FUZI was insane. That's what I want to say in that game. He was insane. He was hitting everything. He also
fucking dumpstered foot in the third place decider.
So he was great, and then also some of the the game planning stuff. Just going in, dumping 1 million utility in mid on Ancient and being like, I'm Hooksy, I'll have 6 flashes here in spawn and just throw them repeatedly until we go out mid 1 by 1 to with a flash each to kill Donk. And then after that, fuck it. we win the round after that. So it was a good game from Astralis. You got to give it to them as well. And
that's true.
and on top of that, Spirit looking a bit disconnected altogether because maybe you can get a kill on Donk, but there should be trades and stuff going on, which were not really happening. So
they were so disconnected. They do look bad at times. Like they do look disconnected or reliant on Donk entries. They looked fucking horrendous in that series. That's the worst I think I've ever seen them look. With how they just resulted to going fast when nothing was working. It's like, okay, they looked really bad there, Spirit. So I'm hoping for the bounce back. That's my opinion. Do you want to move them from 2 boys up, down?
Let's see how the rest works out, because I think it is somewhere high up for sure.
Okay, let me click back up. So what else we got? TYLOO's done. We've put them.
Do we care about Falcons
Roster is
thing?
hidden somewhere, unfortunately.
So
he's looking for the strike through. You need to go to format on top and then click left on the.
It's too much, man. I don't care that
there,
much.
And then you can get it.
Text,
strike through.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Control S, I guess. Control S.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll do it one at a time. Anyway, sorry. What were you saying, Striker?
Alt Shift 5. Wow, what a great fucking shortcut.
I was saying Falcons Kyosuke thing seems like it's been solved, so I don't know if we care.
I think it's lower. It's lower down with the Nucleon situation. I also, when people were seeing it and reacting like, "Oh, Kyosuke's not there again," it's like, well, we knew this was a possibility, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like we've already been over this.
I mean, it's fucking over. It's still shit though. Still shit that it is happening.
That's true. It doesn't take away from the fact it sucks. They did win their opening game against NRG with Nucleons. He's still doing fine as a stand-in. I guess just Falcons returning to the field is the same as Vitality returning to the field. How big are our expectations? The Zonic interview saying that he's limiting the amount of FACEIT matches they can play. I think people...
It's a great storyline. Okay. It's a great storyline. I just love it. You got
so much shit for that, even though I actually, it makes sense to me. I don't know how about you guys, but it actually makes sense to me.
Well, considering the over peaks and stuff of why they lose rounds, that's very FACEIT coded behavior. Look, if instead of FACEIT, they're actually spending the time in the server doing other things, whether that's coming up with moves or doing stuff,
that's what he was saying. Like, what's the point of this, right? Like that when they finish, even he said it, I think, on the broadcast later, outside of our interview. Like when they finish practice, they don't want he doesn't want the players to go to FACEIT. He wants them to go and do theory,
together,
in duos on sites, and just do things together rather than just go to FACEIT and play whatever. Like that was the whole point, that they should just talk through situations more and just brainstorm shit together, so that they can solve some of these problems that they have, which is has all to do with team play. So I don't think that's such a ridiculous thing to do, to try as an exercise to see okay, so we can try this for a couple of tournaments for a couple of weeks and see where that takes us, right? If it's going to improve some of these situations, because nothing else has worked for them to solve all this, so you might as well try something that actually makes sense on paper.
Yeah, look, I think at this point Zonic's going to be trying everything, so I don't have a problem with him saying, "Hey boys, maybe a few less FACEIT games." I think the way it was translated was it was a full FACEIT ban, but that's not the case.
I mean, in general, also, it just feels like he is acknowledging that this, if he doesn't fix it, it's his head next. I think that's kind of clear from the way he spoke also on the post match, where he was like, maybe it's a cultural thing, but in the past I was maybe too lenient and telling people, I think the way it can be described, he would say stuff like, "I think we should do this." And that being
construed as you have a choice, as opposed to
that being understood actually literally what he said, right?
Yep.
When if you have most Balkan Eastern European people will be like, we will do this. This is what we're doing from now on, right?
Yeah.
And I would say just in West Europe, you're just used to phrasing things in this way,
slightly lighter way,
where it seems like everyone has a choice and it's a conversation all the times, even though it's implied because of the hierarchy that you should just do this.
Yes.
And this is something that just, I don't know, for me, when I'm talking to people on HLTV, it's very different when you have people from different cultures, the way they communicate. Like Dimitri will not communicate the same way as Lucas. They will communicate very differently. And then it's like understanding these nuances of how to balance things. But it seems like he's putting his foot down, knowing that also maybe people don't like it. You know, whenever you put your foot down and you're like, it's my way or the highway, people are generally not super keen on that unless it leads to improvements, right? Unless it leads to actually winning. So this seems to be the direction where FaZe are right now. So
just quickly, where would we put that? And we can modify the headline. We can modify the story, right? Like it doesn't have to be Falcons, nuclear and skis. But where would we put it? Is this
can Falcons fix their shit?
Okay. Well, how is this the most?
Shit makes a return.
Is this the most pertinent time for them? Like, there's no time like the present. I understand that, but if they don't make progression here, how detrimental is that? They're not going to change roster before the major.
I think for me, it's lower than FaZe and potentially MOUZ.
Okay.
But also higher than Spirit, if I'm completely honest. But
well, we can move Spirit. I'm happy to move him around. I'm not married. It's mainly just Jason who's got me mad.
What's Apex doing? Apex is dancing on my screen. Okay, classic Apex, I guess. Yeah. Okay, we can put it here for now, and then and move on.
Is there more to the Falcons story, you think, Striker?
No, I mean it's a bit too close to Cluj for me to feel like it's like going to be fucking miles different, especially when they start the tournament without Kyosuke. You know? So I don't think it's that high up. Yeah.
Right, one more win and they're in the playoffs.
But they're playing NRG. Like I know NRG's been all right, but they should fucking stomp them even without Monacy probably.
Sad, man. Okay. We got a couple more here to throw around. What do we want to grab next? Anyone got anything they're feeling strongly about in this list? Vitality returns to the field. Navi and Aurora chase momentum. We could break those up if you want.
No, I think we can do Navi and Aurora kind of below, like somewhere in the like 7th, 8th, 9th position. For me, it's mainly about the individuals on Navi. Can they continue where they left off in Stockholm? And that's mainly maaRaaless and then also Wonderful to some degree. I think with maaRaaless, if he's going to be playing anywhere near this level, I'm not saying like jumping kills, fucking 4K clutches, 1v4s and stuff like that. Just like, 80-90% of what he did in Stockholm, they actually have a real star player that they haven't had in forever. So with that, it changes what they are. Like they could go then into actual tournament contention regularly.
Do we think Aurora? So Aurora's final against Navi introduced them getting a win on Arena Light, we were calling it, right? And to get to that final and then showing a little bit of grit there. I think the crowd has to be getting louder about XANTARES' performance in big games. That's why I would maybe like either split these or put it higher. Is because
look, if it was Navi alone, I think I would actually put it. I don't know about number one, but I would put it somewhere high up because it was funny how Blade was talking about that as well. I don't know if you caught that one on the broadcast.
What did he say?
After they won, after they won against Energia or against, I forgot. Oh, Bait. He was on the desk, and they were asking about like, okay, so where do you think the team is now? And he's like, actually, I'm really super interested to see this event because we haven't played Vitality in a long time. It feels like our individuals are on a good level, So like it felt like he could see a world where they could challenge Vitality, and that's that's interesting to hear from within, right? Because that's not necessarily what we've heard from Blade for a while, and obviously the CPL win has. They
all spoke about confidence after the win. Yeah. They all were mentioning confidence. They're on opposite sides of the group.
Yeah.
They're in opposite groups, excuse me.
The only problem I have with that is we've seen Wonderful hit these peaks, maybe not this exact peak in that final because that was probably unprecedented from him.
I would have given him MVP.
I was fighting a lot because I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. That was a tough call as fuck. Not gonna lie. But we've seen that before, and we've seen him drop off the face of the planet the next tournament right after that. It just feels like he's that type of a player that I'm not even sure this is enough to just make him suddenly like compete at this kind of a level consistently, even close to that kind of a level consistently, because a lot of it was also just clutches that, you know, went the right way for him, and it's not something you can realistically replicate. And as much as he had good moments even outside of those clutches, I just don't see him. Yeah, I just don't see him replicating that sort of a form again.
I'd put it higher up with you here. So like, where would you put him? For NAVI, that is. I'll separate it from Aurora.
I'll put them like maybe 4-3.
Okay.
Maybe
because I think
can NAVI join the title races?
Yeah,
is that kind of
that's a pretty good angle.
Okay. And then Aurora, what did you think about the comment I made about XANTARES? Prof, if I said you could replace XANTARES with any other Turkish player, would you do it?
I would seriously think about it, because that's the role that's the only role where they have like multiple good players.
Yeah, 12 kills over 2 maps.
Yeah,
he is really not delivering.
Kind of my question mark is along the lines of, should Aurora just be happy with where they are and not rock the boat too much? Because I do think that XANTARES. No, I don't know if that's like the storyline, but that's why I'm thinking it's a risk. It's a huge gamble for you to remove who is effectively your best player to get you to playoffs almost every time.
Yeah, okay.
Which is still, it is valuable. It's not what you'd want as like a title contender. Obviously, you would want, you know, same thing with Kyosuke. Like, obviously, you want Kyosuke to get over the hump, and if he doesn't, then eventually, you know, think about something about that. But ultimately, they are in a position where even being at this level they should be pretty happy about even being at this level. And I don't know if they remove XANTARES, there's a very good chance
they might not be
that they will not be at this level anymore at all.
Yeah,
where they will just drop off to the level where they're not even going to be in playoffs anymore. And at that point, would you rather have XANTARES then? At least until he's still, you know, capable of playing at this level.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Interesting.
I have also a different little mental game. Imagine everything that XANTARES is doing, it was Wicadia, and everything that Wicadia is doing is XANTARES. Imagine just like the names were swapped. How would you think of how would you then approach the situation? If Wicadia was playing all of XANTARES' roles, performing good in groups, bad in playoffs, everyone would be, fuck this Wicadia guy, replace him, get X-Floud.
I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the case, because Wicadia is the young guy there, and you can definitely see like a way where you can get out of it, right? The same way that, you know, anybody who just has like MONGOLZ, right? It's like they obviously were a lot of young guys that eventually broke through that, and why wouldn't Wicadia be able to, you know, down the line? So I don't think that would be the conversation so heavily.
Then if you go back, then why usually it's the young guy that we're giving the time to, right? To get over this hump. What is the argument for XANTARES to do this? There is none.
Wow, what a reverse card he's just played here. He's just fucking Una reversed you so hard.
There's not if you want to become if you want them to become a title contender, but if it comes against the risk of them dropping off the face of the planet and not being competitive at all, I think there's definitely things to consider there. You know?
For me, the main thing is that I don't know what he adds to the team out, like on the team speak, on you know, in the team talks and all of these things. So what is his impact outside?
Well, he's very like secondary leader. Like he always talks, from what I can see. Like he's pretty much the only one outside of Major who has any sort of a voice, from what I can tell, at least, like watching the team. So, and even from what I heard from the team, like that he's very vocal in terms of like mid-rounding.
I think for me, that's the main part where it's like probably hard to replace him. Also has like a lot of experience, so that comes with a lot of intangibles, which more so than just the fragging in the group stage is where I think could be an issue for Aurora to replace him, or what could lead to a bigger downfall. Because I don't know, I think, you know, a Jota or an X-Cloud could do most of that fragging that XANTARES is doing right now. And it's also about the trajectory, because like it's not, obviously he's not getting any younger, but also it's not like his top 20 was great, but it's also how likely is that to repeat? And
Yeah.
Bro, he's averaging 114 for the year still. Like he's definitely on the way to another one if he keeps going at around this level, right? If he has like a couple of good playoffs every now and again, which he's bound to have at some point.
But unfortunately, the playoffs, when you click the playoffs filter, he goes from
What is it? I didn't do that.
0.96
Okay.
over 14 maps. He's the fourth. He is lower than Major in playoffs.
Yeah.
He's lower than Major in playoffs. And in the group stage, like in total, not just group stage, in total, he's 110 highest rated for Aurora.
I guess with the headline of should Aurora be content, the reason it can be lower on the board where we have it now is because they first of all have to make the playoffs for us to even be able to measure that. So, but this still is an interesting conversation we just had about Aurora.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got a couple more to put on here, boys.
MOUZ.
Vitality returned to the field, PARIVISION consistency being tested, Cologne qualification implications, Liquid with MALBs, FURIA looking to silence the downward slide conversation. So, is there anything here? Is it number one for anybody?
Sorry. Go back up because I've.
I think FURIA is my number one.
Okay.
And the reason that is because if they can't and they are actually on a downward slide, then the team who I thought was closest, or the team who I thought could beat Vitality on any given Sunday, maybe not any given Sunday, maybe like one Sunday a month.
Yeah, that's a good amount of Sundays.
That's about appropriate. Yes.
One Sunday a month can no longer do that, and then the Vitality conversation of how big is the gap is such a prevalent convo. That's kind of why I have Spirit so high too.
The problem with the Vitality one is I think everybody knows what the gap is. That's the problem right now. I think everybody knows the gap is just massive at the moment, and so like until somebody proves us otherwise, we can't.
Where
really
would you put that
as
then?
Like 9.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that means fair enough because we our expectation that they continue.
Just we know that they will be. They will win this. Like we know they'll win this. Problem in more likelihood. So
yeah,
you got
honestly, for me, Vitality could be like 10. Honestly, like I'm not really until we get to the playoffs. I'm not really keen on watching their games. Like I'd rather watch like a PARIVISION than Vitality.
Yeah.
Right now. So I think.
But here's the problem I have with that is there was a sentiment with EPL where people were like, "What's the point in watching because Vitality aren't here?"
Right.
So Vitality returning is big enough because we measure everybody else by Vitality, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to watch any Vitality game. I'm just saying like they're good, they're fun to watch. But in terms of like the hierarchy of stories and where I'm looking for a development, I'm not expecting any developments from Vitality. I'm expecting the same.
I don't agree with that line in general. Like what you were talking about, what people thought about EPL just because Vitality's not there, it's not worth watching. I mean, that's kind of stupid.
I thought people said. I'm saying what I saw people write on the forums or Reddit.
Yeah, I just don't agree with that.
Well, I don't agree with them either, but I have to sometimes champion the position of the people. Okay, well, all right. I'm just trying to represent the little guy, Prof. You know, that's me out here trying to represent the little guy. Okay, so that leaves us with PARIVISION, Cologne qualification implications, Liquid with MALBs, and FURIA looking at FURIA.
I think throw FURIA. Did you already do FURIA at number 1?
I haven't. I can put it at number 1.
Just do it.
Okay. So they were having some shaky losses. So it would be nice to see them stabilize because they're a fun team to watch. But they got a bit more time because obviously they didn't make it to the playoffs of EPL. So they got a bit more time to, whether that be rest or readdress what was going on. And Fallen, obviously, even if they did make it to the playoffs, Fallen wouldn't have been there. So I put a little bit of their poor performance online down to the fact it's like, I'm not going to war without the general.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not going into battle without the king, you know? Yeah, and it was online. Yeah, that's true too. So that's a big one for me. Last couple here, boys.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I guess Cologne qualification only touches on a couple of teams.
Yeah,
and they're probably not going to do much here, so it's kind of like it's pretty irrelevant because one of them is like Liquid and IP both in the same match now, but so there's going to be some ground to be gained. But
FaZe
it just doesn't touch on a lot of those teams.
I'd put it towards the end, towards the bottom.
I'll put it at 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would probably put Liquid below that. I would put this at 10, then Liquid below that, and then PARIVISION at 3.
Liquid below that.
Because I just don't think they're going to survive for very long.
In the tournament?
Yeah.
So is it
I'm
like
still more interested in seeing how it looks, how it shapes
I am
up.
still interested how it works out. I just think it's too early. Like they've barely had, even MOUZ was saying they've had like 2 days of practice. Like I just don't have high expectations. So that's why I think like I wouldn't have this tournament as a big gauge of this lineup change yet.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Liquid with MOUZ here, and then that leaves us with one, which is PARIVISION, who also bombed out of EPL. But I don't know if they could be the third highest.
They should definitely go lower, like somewhere around like 7 or something, 6, 7.
I would probably put them below Falcons, above Aurora.
Okay, so
that's I think what makes a lot of sense.
If fuck it, I'll just do it this way.
Yeah,
I'll just do it this way. That's all right. We'll go like this, right? This becomes 3. This becomes 4. This becomes 5. This becomes 6. And if I go here, I make this 7. Then I do that.
There you go.
Okay, so FURIA looking to silence the downward slide. I think they need a good event, like at least
Can
an
you
event where
remove that extra space? It's
I want to, but look, it gets rid of my one.
Yeah,
so,
because it kind of considers it as
It was bothering me too. Okay, so FURIA returning. I think they need playoffs at a minimum. I think, like a top 4 for them at this type of an event. Spirit, well, they already did bounce back with their game today. They 2-0'd Liquid, but again, it's Liquid. And Ancient did get close. So
it was not bad. It was honestly not that bad from Liquids.
But they play PARIVISION next. This is Spirit, that is. And they've had they lost to PARIVISION back at Bounty, right? Yeah. So this would be a good one to show that they are on the right direction. NAVI, so the momentum from EPL. And the thing is for NAVI, you could even see them not make the playoffs here.
I don't know how the groups.
They play Falcons. Wait, could. It's only 16 playoff. They play Falcons. They could lose that, and then if they drop down there, they would have to beat an Aurora
or FURIA.
Yeah. So it's not a guarantee, but it's likely, but not a guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously top 6 is a tough competition at this point, So.
FaZe we're interested in not for how they do in the tournament, just in general. Like we're just interested to see like how far the wheels come off or what.
Yeah, frankly, it was not looking that bad against Aurora either. When I was watching them.
Yeah, I watched as well. Yeah, but does that say more about Aurora or more about FaZe? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but it's also like FaZe finally got something going on Nuke at least, which is they haven't been able to for a long time.
Falcons, MOUZ, we discussed them. Falcons, PARIVISION. Yeah, so PARIVISION obviously bombing out online. I think it's probably a good thing they had a bit of time off so they could actually look at some, because they were just like event to event to event to event to event. So I think it's a blessing in disguise, that loss. But I'm hoping that they are competitive, and they are for me the ultimate team who plays to the quality of their opponent. That's why all their games are so close, because they play like today. NIP got fucking close. It was close.
And it was actually an interesting game to watch too. It's not like just they were shit or whatever. It's just that the way that PARIVISION plays is just so fucking specific. I don't know what it is about them exactly. Like why they can never like stomp an opponent, that they should. I just don't get it. I don't get it really, but it's just the way that James plays, I guess.
It's just, can you get to 13? Not who gets there first, I suppose, or not how quickly you can get there. It's about, Anyway, should Aurora be content? Vitality return to the field. Cologne qualification implications. Liquid with MALBs, TYLOO back on our screens, and MONGOL still that Mara. Okay, cool. I thought that was a kind of fun experiment to do.
That was pretty good.
Okay, I have a thought, and it's just like something that just went into my head. Do you think the reason that PARIVISION play to the level of their opponents is because of how reactionary they play? Because of how reactionary James calls. Because they're a team. So they're a team that the reason I say this is because they're a team that, like, James likes to call shit that where he will test something, he will wait for what happens, and then he will adjust. Right? It will not just be like a commit execute a lot of the time. He would just like do a mini execute, wait for a reaction, see if something happens. He will not commit the bomb, for example, on T side a lot of the time. And then he will just wait, and if somebody on the sides gets something, he's very, very dynamic T side, and it's always about what the other team will do in response to them. and like this mega high level game, you know, that he's playing at all times. Almost every single round, he will play like this, unless it's like, you know, simple anti-eco or whatever it is. Like they're sometimes going to throw in something very simple, but high level, they just play so reactionary to what the other team does that I feel like it's impossible almost for them to just, you know, roll over opponents a lot of the time.
I think because they're risk averse, right? As well, there'll be some scenarios which like they'll be saving where they probably could win it if they gave it a go, but they're doing it so by the book or so for, you know, the fact that it is first to get to 13 or how quick you get there. I think that always factors into their choices. But I see what you're saying. I don't know. I'd have to give it some more thought. It just, maybe they will have some games with their stomp, but it always feels like,
I don't remember the last one they did, to be honest.
I guess
the last time they stomped somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they're like giving their opponent an opportunity. Yeah, well, that doesn't count. That doesn't count, unfortunately.
And even them, they played 13-11.
That was Mirage, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you take that.
I think there is something to it. Like they play with enough respect for every team. They you know, they don't really put on this oppressive, we're running over you kind of game style. So
I mean, if you were any other team, like you would just send Nota and Zelo and just fucking roll over people, you know, because you have two such like high aggressive riflers to be in front and to be able to work off of each other. That like there's definitely pieces for them to do that if they wanted to. They just don't do it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's why it's a big conversation to see if they can rebalance already, because you were great for a short spurt, but the year's barely even underway, right? So you need to see them be able to return, and hopefully the EPL results aren't more of what's to come. Now, boys, based off all those storylines we just discussed, we need to come up with a what are the odds. We need to come up with a what are the odds.
Okay.
Well, I was hoping that something like of a thought would come from that conversation that we could use as a what are the odds. So what if we angle it around our number one that was FURIA? We could do like what are the odds they make it to the semifinals, or is that too?
And we could also do a NAVI or a NAVI related one.
I was thinking about NAVI,
Yeah, could do it NAVI.
Could be good.
Could be player related, could be.
What was Wonderful's performance over the course of EPL on only the land portion?
124 or something.
I don't care about the rest. So what if we just measured it by that? What are the odds Wonderful gets a 124, 125 rating or better?
Okay, well, I think that's a good one.
Okay, yeah.
Or is that?
I mean, that's maybe too high.
I mean, my issue is somewhat that. First of all, they've already played a game and it was kind of close, and he's already below that. But also, second of all, this was only playoffs, you know, so they played. They're not the best teams.
But here you can play three. Here you can play 3 matches and be straight in the semi, and then you only play 2 more games.
Yeah, but they're obviously going to play harder teams from now, because they're going to play like into Falcons, into an Aurora, FURIA, and then in the playoffs, obviously they're going to play like Vitality, Spirit, MOUZ, whatever.
maaRaaless is 114, and he is in some ways, I don't want to say more important.
Yeah, but he was over the course of the tournament.
That's why he was the MVP.
Yes, most valuable player.
What if we say what are the odds maaRaaless posts like a 1.20 across Rotterdam?
What, just groups?
The whole.
Well, that's why I think Striker's point is bang on, is because like they will be playing against harder opponents, so it seems less likely. And the way we know Navi to win is by committee, not by individuals. So I don't know, maybe it's a bad one because of that.
Maybe it could just be about Navi as a team. Like, what are the odds they're gonna be in title contention? I don't know what that means. Like maybe semifinals or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe Navi top 4 then.
Okay. So what are the odds Navi make top 4? There you go, Lucas.
Okay.
So they've already won their first game. They play against Falcons. They play against Falcons, who we believe should have Kyosuke back, right? That's not official.
History like with Falcons? They haven't played in a while.
I feel like they are good. I would presume they would be okay against Falcons. But
so they haven't played since Pro League Season 22 in October.
Yeah, so that's a while ago. No recent history.
Nothing really recent.
But again, we are assuming Kyosuke is making it, right?
Yeah, there are some posts going on. Nothing like 100%, but
okay.
You know, he made a Telegram post with a green check mark. So but let's say the Falcons are definitely not going to be in like 100% prepared.
No.
There's going to be some a bit of a detrimental factor.
So there is a chance, right, that Navi could beat Falcons, and then they would have to beat the winner of Aurora and FURIA, and they'd be straight in the semis. So that's the quickest way they could get straight to the semis, which is fine. But I don't think that's. But
still, beating Falcons and FURIA is a pretty tall task.
Yeah.
It's not an easy couple of matches. So if that happens, it's still pretty unlikely. You know?
So then we kind of have to. So I think I'm going to say whether they beat Falcons or they lose to FURIA in the upper bracket final, either way, they have to play quarter, right?
Yeah.
So if they have to play a quarter, obviously it's going to be different. So if they're third slot Group A, they play second slot Group B, which will be whoever loses to Vitality, which
it'll be Spirit or
PARIVISION.
No, you're saying so if they beat Falcons and then lose to FURIA or what?
Yeah.
But then they would place the third, not the second.
No. I said they lose. So either way, right? They would play.
Well, it makes a difference if they play the third best team, and well, maybe it doesn't if it's MOUZ in the end. Yeah, maybe it doesn't if it's MOUZ in the end.
Like because it also it could be
tough either way. It's like
PARIVISION, MONGOLZ, it could be MOUZ. Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough either way. It is a tough run.
For me, they're on the brink, kind of a 50-50, but I'm not sure.
I'm going to say 35%.
Okay,
seems high.
It's fairly high, yeah.
I'm going to give them a bit more, like 42%. I'm feeling 42%.
I am preying on the downfall of MOUZ, so hopefully MOUZ aren't even in the playoff conversation.
Hold on, hater.
Someone's got to be. If
I'm
not
going
me,
to be
then
like 20%.
Yours is actually reasonable. His is reasonable.
It is somewhere around where it should be, yeah. Because it's like, even if you look at it, like let's say 50-50 if they beat Falcons, then another 50-50 if they beat FURIA. You know, that's already 25, but it's probably less than that because they're underdogs in both matches.
The kick chat is cooked. 47%. Yes, that's some prof numbers right there.
That's a long time.
Look, they were talking a lot about confidence. There was confidence coming out of every single one of the players' mouths when they won that final. So let's hope that it does unlock them, because right now it feels like the valley between Vitality and everybody else is a fucking. It's like the Great Barrier Reef, but a better example of that would be the Grand Canyon, because the reef lives underwater. The Grand Canyon used to be. That's all about the Younger Dryas. You guys can learn about that.
Talking about drought. Great tweet. I need to read it.
I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
After exertion, okay, actually, first thing to wrap it up, stake promotion.
Okay.
Don't forget about that. We have a weekly reload from stake and HLTV Confirmed. You can claim it via support. Use code HLTVorg, and you will get $35 across 7 days after a minimum deposit of $20. Thank you to stake and gamble responsibly. But then I also sent you guys this tweet. Talk about drought and talk about exertion and MOUZ after their horrible performance against MONGOLZ today. From the event, who is exertion? For the hungry, he is the famine. For the thirsty, he is the drought. For the tax collector, he is Alexi B.
Bloody hell.
I feel like that should be the other way around. When exertion speaks, I mute. If exertion thinks, I disagree. This is a kind of a banger. Copy pasta classic, but
that's a twist on the copy pasta.
Yes,
he's had some stinkers lately, though, hasn't he?
People have been, he's been. I don't want to say targeted, singled out as the problem recently for MOUZ Sports, which is he is one of the players. You can definitely You can definitely make the argument in some ways.
Yeah, he's had some stinkers.
What else to say? We're wrapping up the show.
We're wrapping up the show.
Some people asked about the quiz and the questions. I made a reel. I don't know if you saw. I made a reel myself on Instagram. People are commenting, sharing it, stuff, and asking for the questions. I'll post them in the comments of the YouTube for this, so people can play it at home if they want to. It's not going to be the same experience without the music, especially Striker's music.
True. Game of Thrones.
Striker's music was fire. But no, it was a good vibe, and maybe we do one for Cologne or something. We'll see. We're looking into options for the podcast or something like this. That's cool. I don't know, Striker, if you heard.
Just say it. I don't know what you mean, but just say
I heard the rumor about Frozen that he already extended with FaZe. But it's not like super verified.
No.
But I'm just mentioning it because the previous episode we were talking about, Frozen needing to extend the contract or whatever with FaZe, but I heard that maybe that already happened. So nothing concrete, but we'll be looking into that situation, because definitely I think changes the situation around FaZe. If they already have Frozen locked down and they have twists, that's a much better situation to be than having to sign Frozen's extension.
I think that would be fucking crazy. By the way,
you could just message your boy, see what he's up to. Say, hi, this is Striker calling. I have a question.
I don't think he likes me.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, it happens. Okay.
Last time he apologized for ghosting me about four months after it happened. So there you go.
He's a busy man. All right. Everyone good? Everyone said their piece? Everyone happy?
I think that's it.
Okay. So people, Blast Bounty. No, it's a joke. Blast Open Rotterdam is going on right now. Actually, not right now because today's
not
included.
Anymore.
But tomorrow there'll be more games. So whack on your telly. It'll be on all day. The first game starts at like 12. Tomorrow, I think they're just down to Well, they're still doing 4
Why are they
threes.
starting
Never
later
mind.
now?
Yeah, why are they starting later? That seems like a bad idea.
Actually, it might be on our end because they changed it at first, but they only said that they would start at 11 on the first 2 days. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
On the opening, in the opening round, so maybe they actually are starting at 12.
Well,
I wonder.
Either way, it says on your website, 12 o'clock tomorrow.
It says actually on Twitter, just so I can fix it already. Elimination and qualification on the line tomorrow as we head back towards Group A, blah, blah, blah. We'll be starting an hour later tomorrow and having less time between the matches. So get that rest in for another quality day of Counter-Strike. There you go. That's from
How are
Blast.
they going to do that? Then they have one set up. How are they going to make teams? Anyway, that's the problem for
them. They
tomorrow.
are waiting for way too long, though. Like, you don't need a fucking hour to get teams set up.
Well, in the rulebook,
1 hour later,
a minute.
They're starting at 12, and then they're going to have less time between matches, so like less breaks.
Well, we'll see what happens there.
Well, it seems so unreasonable, but
okay. Tomorrow, NRG Bait, FaZe, TYLOO, Falcons, NAVI, Aurora, FURIA. Check it out. It'll be on the telly. Blast Open Rotterdam, all underway. We'll be back next week with another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Shout out to Steak. Remember to gamble responsibly, and good night.